Okay. Kev, it's Keav, right? Not Kev.
Yeah, it's Keav.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Did we met at SEMA? Where did we met?
Uh, Beamer Invasion.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. That was a couple of years ago. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is get us together, and I want you guys to bust my balls a little bit here, and and show me the error of my ways because I'm Mr. Fancy guy, and I only like the fancy crap, right? And so I want to just get us together, talk pressure washing, talk the business, talk detailing a little bit. Maybe tell a little story, maybe a little backstory, some of the pressure washing stuff that maybe you guys haven't heard me talk about before. But I thought it would be cool to kind of give the people a little update on you guys are cutting edge on what's coming out and what's available. I've kind of been running around like a crazy person on a bunch of different things, so you guys are more up to speed on things, so maybe you can educate me a little bit on some of the new stuff. But wanted to get us together and just shoot the breeze a little bit and let people be a fly on the wall as we kind of chat about detailing and pressure washing. So for those on my channel that don't know, so Keav, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into this stuff and why you're making videos in your garage. What's that all about?
So I've been on YouTube for like 12 years, originally as a gaming commentary, and then I dropped out of 5 years, came back, have a love of cars, especially
Mhm.
BMWs, show cars. I did show car scene for 3 or 4 years, sponsored by everybody from BBS to Liqui Moly. And then it just got into the wanting to take care of the car, constantly make sure it looks good, and just that kind of spiraled. Like I started out with the little setup, the Ryobi, and then I graduated and kept going. And I said, you know what? Let's document the journey, because
Cool.
I used to do social media for car clubs in Atlanta and ATL
Mhm.
Beamers, and I just said, well, let's try it out. I have social anxiety, so being in front of the camera really helps. Like it really does.
Mhm.
I in public, I don't do so well, but in front of
Mhm.
the camera, I'm pretty good.
I have a
But
different
yeah.
affliction, but I can relate. You know that. What
Yeah, I mean,
do you have a day job? What do you do?
yeah, I'm a lead systems analyst.
Okay. Okay,
So I
cool.
do analyzing DC distribution, warehouse management, inventory systems.
Are you in Canada? Where do you live?
I live in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Why did I think it was Canada for some reason? I was thinking it's something you're saying about.
No, actually, like your Helen series was very intriguing to me because I live like 30 minutes from Helen, so I go up on those roads all the time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. How about you, Josh? Tell us your story. You're a detailer, right? You're a real detailer.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I've been detailing for almost 20 years now.
Jeez.
Um, yeah. So, and then started on YouTube really to try and market my own business.
Yeah.
And then started reviewing some setups that I was using, some cheap effective systems
I
that I
like
was
that
using.
ineffective. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started doing that. I saw that got a lot of views, and I'll give credit where credit is due, man. The way you test pressure washers, I definitely adopted that. I never would have thought about doing that initially. So all credit goes to you on that. That is the honest truth. Like I saw
Well,
you do
I
it. I said, that makes
freaking
sense. Why
made
don't
it.
I go through?
I made it up, and it wasn't like some grand plan. Like I'm gonna reinvent the wheel here. Is like let me see if we can figure out how to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
it's,
me,
I
it
mean,
was
really, it's
the
go ahead,
PSI
keep
with
going.
the PSI, like the 1,000 PSI, that number is definitely something that everybody's kind of adopted. I learned the bucket flow test in chemistry in high school. I didn't really learn. I didn't ever think about it until I saw one of your videos. I was like, wow, I should have done that before.
Well, I tried to get like a special meter, but I got one and it didn't work for squat. And then that's when you just set the frickin' stopwatch and stick it in a hole, in the bucket. So anyway, sorry, I cut you off there, Josh. So keep telling tell the story of it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so that was basically it. Just started doing it to promote my own business. I still detail every day, or I'm down to like 3 or 4 days a week now. I have my core group of customers that I handle. Outside of that, I try and optimize I have two young daughters, so
Mm.
I try to optimize as much time as I can with them because I know it doesn't last. So it's just a balance of things, trying to stay as busy as possible, but still have enough time for them. So
So, the I guess this is for my channel, but in case we put you guys put some of the stuff on social, or you want to put it on your channel as well, that's fine. I guess I'll tell a little bit of some of the stuff you guys may not know. Some stuff I've told, some stuff I haven't. But in I think it was probably 2012. I had seen a photo on Detailer's Domain of the Kranzle. He had the K2017T and then the K1122 TST, but it was the stock image, no description. It was on his site, and at the time, I was following a lot of what Phil was doing with Menzerna polishes. I was an all Griots guy. And then I started to like the Griots polish system was terrible, and I got water spots on my hood. And I was trying to figure out how to get it out, and so then I started, watching him or reading his journals on M3 Post, and I saw he had this like interesting looking German pressure washer. That was probably around 2010, but I actually got one around 2012. And the real scary part was there's just like this photo of this pressure washer from like 30 feet away. It was like a terrible image. I had no idea what I was getting. I wasn't making that much money. And the thing was like $1,200. And I'm like, man, is this thing going to even work? I have no idea. So I just took a gamble. I forget where I bought it from. There were no photos, there were no descriptions, there were no videos, there was nothing available on this thing. And so I got it. This 80-pound brick. Josh, you have one, don't you?
I do. I have the 1122. Yeah.
80-pound brick shows up on your doorstep, and you're like, what am I going to freaking do with this thing? And you kind of lug it in the house. And I have to admit this, I love that thing more than, my kids probably. I love this darn pressure washer. I loved it so much. I'm putting sealant on it, and every time I went to put it away, I would wipe it down and I'd put it in the cabinet, and I'd try to get all the water out of it. And this was like a big investment. It was a big thing I was coveting, and what I didn't do. So before that, I was always washing with a garden hose. Right. And so I didn't want to take that progressive step and buy some junk. I wouldn't want to buy some cheap thing, because at that time, the stuff at Home Depot was like unusable. It was just total trash. You'd fall apart in the first 5 minutes, and there weren't many choices either. And so I just waited and got the German brick, the Porsche. I was hoping it was Porsche. And so, of course, because I was breaking it down, I had to the quick disconnect thing started, right? So I was having to unscrew all the parts and pieces. Well, there weren't any quick disconnects anywhere. You had to go to some obscure wholesale only pressure washing site. There was only brass. No one had anything stainless. And so I wanted to figure out a way to get the foam cannon on it. And so I'm telling you, I had to go M22 to 3/8 male, back to 3/8 female, and then I had a big M20, like a big plug on the end of it. So there was this big gap. And then on the wand, we're using the big M22 fittings on the wand, but there was no short gun, right? It was the long 36-inch guy. And so I couldn't do my wheels with the pressure washer. And so I still had my hose. I'm pulling the hose out. And then I had to figure out a way to get a short, like a little whip hose. And that's when I found Ely hose reels.
Yeah.
The only ones that made a 6.5-foot whip. You couldn't find it anywhere. So I had the whip. And then, of course, because I'm breaking down the whip, I'm starting to figure out, well, Gilmore makes these quick disconnects for the garden hose. And so then I got a CR spotless. And then I had to figure out how to get the quick disconnects on that. So anyway, in other words, I was trying to figure out how to make this all work. This is prior to me making any videos on YouTube. And so I'd figured out this German pressure washer. It was fantastic. It performed well. Of course, I was using it upright. I wasn't turning it on its side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So eventually I read the manual, because I'm like, I probably need to change the oil in this sometime. I read the manual and said, oh, shoot, I've been using this thing upright the whole time. It's supposed to be laying on its side. So I'm using a garden hose, and I'm using the pressure washer, and I have all these quick disconnects. So now I can break down my pressure washer and put it away. Then I started YouTube, right? So one of my very first videos was I made a video. I'm in my bare feet. I had the straight hairline at the time, right? And I started showing people, here's how I wash my wheels on my Porsche 911, right? I just come off my first OCD meltdown. And so this was my Keav. This was my way to get over my issues, was to try to share with people. And so then that opened up Pandora's box to me, sharing how I wash my car. And what I didn't realize is I'm like the guy in washing cars. I thought everybody washed a car the way I did. Because Josh, most of you detailers, it was always just a means to an end, right? No one was focusing on washing cars. They're using a
Yeah, right.
bucket and, detailers in general. So all the detailers I'd followed and admired, none of them were really washing because they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Even today, I still, for customers, they call me for wash. I'm like, dude, it doesn't. I still operate a lot mobile. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to drive all the way to you for, doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's
all my detail, anybody I knew at a detail had a single bucket with the same sponge because they're going to polish it anyway. So who cares if I scratch it? And so everybody always had a bunch of junk. So then I think it was probably like 2015. There was this guy, it was like Honda Accord guy on YouTube and me. So we're the ones talking about detailing and pressure washing. So there was Junkman, Larry Cosilla, of course, but Larry was on the high end of things. So there was Junkman who was on the low end, Larry was on the high end, and then there was me. And then there was this guy, Honda Accord, I forget what his name was. He didn't ever have his subscriber count, so no one knew, did he have like 10 followers or 10,000? And so he and I both started talking about the MTM M407 short gun at the same time because I wanted to be able to figure out how I could make my wheels. How could I do my wheels without having to be freaking 3 feet away? And so I got the MTM M407, and at the same time, I decided, well, it would be better if this swiveled. And so, but the problem is the only swivels that existed were G threads. And so Mosmatic had the swivel, and the swivels are like 3 inches. And so we had to put like 4 different adapters. And so I kid you not, I had like 9 inches of fittings on the end of my hose to get a swivel on this $20 short gun. But it was really the only gun. It was really the only option. And so it looked like all the Chinese ones do now. That's what the original, MTM M407 looked like. And so then I started sharing this process of, here's all the fittings that I have on them. And you can go back and find those videos of this darn short gun. And then I had to figure out, because we had a new gun, I started to figure out the tip. And so I started calling pressure washer companies. And that's when I figured out the whole orifice thing. Because that wasn't published anywhere other than in like the really deep, dark pressure washer world. So no one was talking about the orifice size of the foam cannon. I just got lucky. The foam cannon happened to have the right orifice on it, a 1.25. And then I figured out, because I always thought you just turned the unloader to change the pressure. And somebody at Kranzle had told me, well, you change the orifice, and that's how you adjust the pressure. And then that's when the 1,000 PSI thing came about. Right. So this is probably 2016. So it wasn't that long ago that there wasn't really a short gun. They were using it in the pressure washing world, but certainly not in the car world. Right? No one was doing that. And so then I decided to start selling the stuff. And the backstory behind that. So Phil, a Detailer's Domain, I was sending him all the links to all the people. I wasn't getting paid. There was no affiliate links at that time. And so Phil at Detailer's Domain was like, hey, I appreciate the links, but like, I thought maybe we'd split it. Like, hey, can we like split the deal? And like all the people I send to you, I'll make you my resource. You do all the fulfillment. And I think I'm on to something. I think I had like 6,000 subscribers or something like that when I first started talking to him. But now I had 70,000. I was like, man, I'm on to something here. So Phil and I were at SEMA, and he's trying to woo me to send him the links. But we were going to put my packages on Amazon, and I would just get the Amazon affiliate, and he would do the fulfillment. And the reason there wasn't margin for him, because he was generally doing like 15% off and free shipping. And so there wasn't enough margin for him to split anything with me. And so I'd agreed to that. And the next day, my Amazon account got shut down. I had tried to set up Amazon payments for some reason, and it triggered a fraud attempt. And so I had 20-year Amazon account. They shut it down. They said, just open a new one. Well, you guys know with affiliate links, they kind of spread throughout the internet. And so I was making a couple $1,000 a month on Amazon affiliate links, but it was because of the videos that I had made and other people shared the links. And so it kind of spreads throughout the internet. And so if I had to open a new account, I could go and edit all my video descriptions, but that $2,000 a month I was making was gone, right? I was never going to get that back. And so it dawned on me, I'm like, look, I need to build my house on somebody else's land. By the way, all this time I'm jerking around with all this pressure washing crap. I have a job, like I'm a finance guy, and I thought me sharing how smart I was about pressure washers was going to get me clients, right? That was going to get me clients in wealth management, because what I was doing was wine tastings. I don't drink, and I was doing golf lessons, and I don't play golf, right? And I'm wearing a suit, and I'm not a suit guy, so I'm faking it to make it. And I was really
Yeah.
good at what I did in managing people's money, but I thought Obsessed Garage was my conduit. So if I showed the Kranzle pressure washer to somebody, I don't want to sell that. I don't want to be a retailer. Phil says there's no margins in this anyway. I just want to show people how smart I am about wax, and then maybe they'd think I was smart in what I did for a living. By the way, I was the #1 searched Merrill Lynch financial advisor in the whole system because of YouTube. So I knew I was on.
Wow.
So Taylor Swift, actually, I take that back. Taylor Swift's dad worked for Merrill Lynch, so he was #1, and I was #2. And this is before Taylor Swift was as big as she is. So in 2000, and this is the end of 2016, I agreed to do the deal with Phil, and we were going to promote it on his forum. And then my Amazon account got shut down, and I just said, Phil, look, this isn't going to work. Amazon could just kick me off at any point. What happens if this is something? I'm not interested. And so I decided, well, it's really annoying to try to send people 12 links to all these disconnects, to the gun, the wand, the foam cannon, the orifice, the nozzles, the Ely inlet hose. It was like 12 or 13 links. So I had 75,000 subscribers at the end of 2016. January 1st of 2017, I published 13 videos at once. I just clicked publish. It was a 3-minute video on a 1/4-inch quick disconnect. It was a 2-minute video on a 1/4-inch male plug. It was a 3-minute video. So it was a bunch of bullcrap videos that the audience didn't want to see. And so I lost 5,000 subscribers that night.
Whoa.
I was like, I'm out of here, you douchebag. I'm out. And the reason why I had a lot of those subscribers, because I had collaborated with Adam LZ. And so he drove my GT3, and then I built his garage. And so I had all these new subscribers. And then I launched this thing, and all these kids are like, this guy jumped the shark. I'm not interested in a 1/4-inch quick disconnect.
So when was that? Because you did the recent collabs with Adam LZ, but so was this previous to that?
Correct. So I built Adam's garage in, I think it was 2016 is when we.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I remember watching those videos
I take it
years
back.
ago. Was that at his house?
We built his garage at his house in 17, but I think I had collaborated with him initially when I took him and his wife for drives in my car. And so I jumped from like 15,000 subscribers to 75,000 like in weeks,
Because I remember you did a video where you did a coding with him, right, on his Porsche.
Yep. That was way for later on. But I had just gained all these subscribers. I'm like, holy cow, this is cool. And I'd monetized my channel. I'm making like, I don't know, $1,000. I'm like, this is great. So I got $2,000 coming from Amazon, $1,000 coming from the channel. This is making my Porsche payment. Now, I say this for context. In wealth management, I was making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So this was like fun money at the time, right? I had a real career, a real business. And so I launched the videos. I get 5,000 people unsubscribe. I'm like, oh boy, I really messed this up. I had set up with Kranzle, I had reserved 15 pressure washers, and I had reserved a bunch of the Mosmatic gun, because that's when I discovered the Mosmatic with the swivel, the swivel gun. And so the Mosmatic gun, I'd reserved like 15 of those, and like 15 sets of quick disconnects from MTM, which I had already received, and then 15 Ely hoses. And I had like 200 emails in my inbox. So I lost 5,000 subscribers, but I had 200 emails. I won it. It's like, holy crap, this is crazy. So that first month in January, I took $50,000 in pre-orders on the Kranzle pressure washer. It was freaking wild. And so the funny part about the story, and I don't mean to bore you guys, but none of these companies wanted to let me sell this stuff. So after my account was shut down in that November, December 2016, I called Kranzle and said, I think I need to put this together, because I have all these links on this website that I made, but no one can figure out how to put this together. I think I need to just buy it all, put the Teflon tape on, torque everything. I called Mosmatic and said, hey, you have this. There was no picture, but there's a description of a gun that had a swivel built into it. Remember, I had 9 inches of, of adapters swivel. So I'm like, this could be a way to get rid of all these freaking adapters. And I called Jamie from Osmatic, and he said, Matt, I appreciate you, wanting a Osmatic gun, but you definitely don't want a swivel. No one in pressure washing does swivels because that's a failure point. I said, no, Jamie, I want one. Can you send me one? He's like, well, we don't have one, but I'll get one from Switzerland, but you got to pay for it. So I paid, I don't know, $400 for it or something crazy like that to get it. Not even knowing there was no picture in the catalog. There was no description. It was just like a swivel gun. And I got it. And, of course, I fell in love. So the MTM M407 got punted in the trash. That got added to the package. And so I did, I don't know, 50 pre-orders on the pressure washer, but we didn't have any guns. We didn't have any wands. I didn't have the pressure washers. And so for the first 2 years, I was out of stock of it. And just as they showed up, I shipped them out. And so what happened was they wouldn't make it fast enough, and they wouldn't ramp up production. And so we have all these orders, but they couldn't make the darn things. And so I got on the phone to MTM, and I said, look, you have the MTM M407, you have the SG28 now, which is the non-swivel. And so, the SGS28 that everybody talks about, that came about me being pissed off with Mosmatic, because what Mosmatic did, I would have 500 guns on order, 1,000 on order, and 250 would come. And they would take the 250 and they would send like 100 to CleanRight, and they would send 150 to me. But CleanRight was only selling them because of me. They didn't even have it on their website, right? And so they were selling them because, and what happened was I got my pallet and it said somebody in the warehouse screwed up and said, took 100 of Obsessed Garage to send to CleanRight. I freaking lost my crap. And so I'd ordered them a year in advance. And so I had called MTM pissed off at Mosmatic saying, we need to make something to beat these guys. And that's where the SGS 28 came from. I said, here's what I want. I want all stainless internals. I want a stainless swivel. I know it won't be as good as Mosmatic, but I want it to be, less expensive. I want it to have stainless screws because they sent it to me, the original version with brass. And then Mosmatic started to ramp up, so I could never commit to exclusivity on the SGS 28. And so I lost all that, all that future business. A dumb move on my part. The SG 35, the Aqualine, that came about in that when I launched the Obsessed Garage version of my gun with Mosmatic, which had the internal swivel and had my little plaque on it, and we launched the Swiss fittings, the guys at MTM were trying to figure out how could they compete with that, and so they found in their catalog the T316 Aqualine. My argument is the Aqualine, in comparison to the SGS 28, is more money and doesn't work as well. And so I didn't take on that gun. That was another dumb move on my part, because now that freaking gun went everywhere. So it was a good competitor against Obsessed Garage to say, hey, we don't have the Obsessed Garage gun, but we do have the Aqualine, and they don't have it. Well, I turned it down, which was a freaking stupid move. So anyway,
that's a food industry gun, really. I mean, the food grade plastic,
it was made for
it's
meat packing
too.
plants. Yeah, meat packing plants and stuff like that. The trigger is heavier, and it's bigger and a bulkier gun. And then of course they brought the tip over to match that. So anyway, I tell you that story. That's the pressure washing, sort of the backstory. And there's 57 other backstories that have happened, in this process.
That spread off that.
Yeah, but the as you can tell in my case, the pressure washing thing was, I didn't think I was going to become a freaking pressure washing guy. I'm a finance guy, I'm a Merrill Lynch guy, and so somehow pressure washing became a thing for me. And so there was a million offshoots, and now it's really cool to see that by accident, I kind of had a little bit of a baby influence on this weird world of pressure washing, especially in the detailing side of things. But now all this cool stuff has come out, and then you guys are pushing it to the next level and pushing it forward with, there's all kinds of new stuff coming out. Most of it junk, but some of it innovative, some of it good, which is really cool.
Can we talk about that on the junk side? Because I started off utilitarian, right? As a detailer, I remember the original guns that I would use, again, they would have that 36 inch lance on it.
Right.
But that gun, I was so used to it. So like the SGS 28 to me, for my preference, it tilts my wrist a little bit more than the other ones do, and just because I'm used to the other one, right?
Yeah.
So with like the new pressure washer, so like the Active 2.3. Let's talk about that one real quick. Let's see here. I don't know where to start with it. So and again, like everything that you recommend, I always tell everyone everything that you recommend is fantastic. It's just a price point for everybody, right? I grew up with no money when I first started.
It's hard for me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys on here, it's hard for me because I'm at the ground floor and this is my baby. And so where am I going wrong? And then I'm like, you guys are freaking idiots for buying anything but the best. Right.
Yeah.
And so this is why I want to have this conversation, because you guys can bring me back to reality, because that's why I told the story. I'm so attached to this that what am I missing, kind of thing. So keep going.
Sure. And just to be clear too, like I have a customer, you would love him too, man. When I first met him, he had two GT3 Tourings and one full-on GT3, and then he's got a GT4 RS on. He has a GT4 RS and he has a GT3 RS allocation that he's getting. Like, super cool guy. He lets me drive all of them. It's amazing. He was like, "Hey, Josh, I have another place. I want to get something set up to be able to take care of the cars on my own. What pressure washer do you recommend?" I knew money wasn't an issue. I said, because he wanted to be able to wheel it around. I said, get an 1122 GS. Like easy choice. I had him buy it from your site. And he couldn't be, no worries. He couldn't be happier with the thing. It's a fantastic unit. When we go to the Active 2.3, and like I feel like you compare it to more so the AR 630, right? Is that kind of where his price range? And so I do look at that one. And again, I came up with no money. And also when I started my business, I got into trouble right off the bat because I just kind of went crazy. I went through a schooling that sold you a whole trailer system. They sold you a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily need. And so I'm very, exactly. So I always try and, like, for people that are reaching out to me, like, hey, how do I start my business? It's like, dude, go buy a basic $100 Ryobi, start making some money, and then reinvest, so that's my point of view on it.
Love it.
So that's really where all that comes from.
So that's the kind of the same way that I think as well. Is like everybody has a different way of providing value or what they think is value.
Sure.
Some people do not want the best of the best. I'm a person who depends on what it is. If it's mowing my grass, I want the best lawnmower possible. But when it comes to washing my cars, I don't want a Kranzle. I just can never see myself spending that kind of money. I can build an entire wash setup for the same amount of money. It just depends, but a lot of people don't know how to build the setup. So that's mainly why I created the videos. Like, hey, this is what you can do with this. But I always suggest the SGS 28. But if there is there's some value guns out there, like $20, Amazon junk. But and I feel like that separation is worth a value. Now, if you're buying a $50 or $60 gun, I still would say get the SGS 28. But there's some pretty good value out there for people, and some people, they just don't care. They just want a nice little setup. The Uberflex hose on the Ryobi is like I think the number one choice out there, really. For
Matt,
most people in my comments, that starts out.
Matt, have you ever? Yeah, you don't like.
I did the whole Ryobi line. I haven't done like the ones the last 6 weeks or so, but I did the whole Ryobi line. And I bought all the the different hoses, Uberflex, and some of the others over the years. And the struggle I have is theft, right? And so where do we draw that line? The IP theft, Chinese theft, and part of my rub is that I started in the beginning, and then these companies, like I like them, they supported me and I supported them, and so when you have copiers, that's what I struggle with a lot. Now, again, where do you draw the line? So you have to draw the line somewhere. My line is probably drawn a little differently than most people because of how attached I am to it. So let's talk a little bit more about the Active. I don't know if you guys saw the video I made. I was a little disappointed in it.
It's loud, like, for sure. I was pretty shocked by that too.
So I don't know if I should tell this story. I'm going to tell it anyway. Whatever. So all this backstory has nothing to do with my like or dislike for the pressure washer. The reason it's loud, I haven't tested the temperature. My concern for it, for all of you guys that are recommending it, is that the ability for it to dissipate heat on the head, and that tiny little brass head with that giant electric motor, that's how they're producing such great numbers. The numbers are fantastic, but byproduct is heat and noise, when you have inefficiencies. And so the risk there is they were going to grenade the front of this head with these goofy bolts that run through it. And it's not really serviceable, the serviceable part. And actually
it's replacing, right? It's replacing, not really servicing.
Correct. So
Yeah.
that wasn't part of the intent, was for it to be serviceable. And then because when they sent me the original one, a couple months ago, it wasn't serviceable. So my frustration there is rooted deeper, of course, but I would have loved to sell it. I can freaking sell a crap ton of them. I just don't feel comfortable doing that because of, if you take a look at the head and you really analyze it, you have this giant motor and a tiny little pump. I mean, if you look at the pump, the head behind me, the thing's a big giant piece of brass in order to handle all of that output, because the Active 2.3 does great output. But they're copping out a little bit, because you can make an AR work on a 15 amp circuit too. Just open up the orifice.
Yeah.
And so they're cheating a little bit. They're opening up the orifice. It's really a 20 amp machine, and just open up the orifice and maybe get a little less foam. So that's the backstory of my problem with that particular machine. But Active as a whole, so James was not a pressure washer expert. Now they are subject matter experts. Jude is brilliant. Jude, who works for him, their whole team there has become subject matter experts. They're going to take pressure washing to a whole nother level. So they are the real deal. I've gotten to know them. They're the real deal. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this on YouTube, but it's the truth. They're the real freaking deal. And in Chinese manufacturing. And so I'm still always going to buy a Kranzle over an Active 2.0 or 2.3. We all would, money, no object. But it's a viable solution. I can't carry the 2.3 because I think it's going to fricking blow up, and I hope I'm wrong. So
yeah, my history with the Active is I was actually really early. I actually reviewed the VE51 when it was out.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, it was $110 on Amazon. I was like, you can't beat this. I get like 1.7, 1.8 gallons per minute. This is crazy. I adopted the V52. I don't know if we were with me or Josh, we were the first ones to put a video out, but we were really early on. That's what really catapulted my channel. And I've had every Active, and I've never had an issue with mine except with the Uberflex hose on the 2.0. I'm willing to give it a chance. It looks like it's built well. You know more about pressure washers than I do, Matt, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I do think the 650 mark, I think, is more than I expected. I expected it to come in at 550. But I don't know if manufacturing, I personally, I could care less if the fins of the motor match the fins of the pump head in that whole design phase. I would rather just have the motor on there with a pump and it roll good, because I've thought what you did before is, if I want the best Kranzle money, I'm going to build my own ball door motor. I'm going to build just this monster that can do 3.5 GPM, but it's going to need like a 230 to run it.
Yeah. And I have learned, by the way, that there is a limit, right? So once you get above 4, it becomes pretty much unusable. So you need to two-hand the darn thing, So
yeah.
So there is a limit.
I think that's probably where the shotgun came from too. Is now that you're dialing it back to 1,000 psi.
Yeah.
Because again, when I first started, they gave me a Honda, gas powered pressure washer that had like crazy psi. You needed 2 hands on that thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense there. So I'm still, again, my point of view is always the utility. So I'm looking at it like, how can they get the performance out of a price? So with that thing at 650 shipped, versus an AR is 800 shipped, right? It's free shipping, right, on the ARs as well.
So 750 for the the 630 TSS,
okay,
for the non-hot version, the non-hot version.
Yeah, and then like the hose that the Active comes with was like, I think they did a great job with that. The gun, the foam thing was it's almost, don't even include that really. What I did, so I'm doing more testing, right? And as a because I still operate my business 95% mobile, because that's what all my customers are used to me coming to them. I've been doing more and more testing. I was going to hook it up and it wouldn't fire with with my generator.
What
There's not
generator?
enough power draw, which doesn't
Your
make sense to me. So I'm running a Furman right now. This is one you can get at Costco. But it's a
watts, like 3,200 or 4,800?
3,200 continuous. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
that's, I'm like, why is it
you
not
probably
firing?
need a 5,000 watt,
5,000.
6,500 watt to, because the,
because they say double the wattage of the motor, right? It's kind of the safety zone. However, that generator does fire an AR630.
interesting.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, that's the only confusing part for me. I think it is, like you said, it's just,
It's probably the
need a bigger
radial
generator.
axial requires more inrush than the triplex pump. It just, and you can even hear the triplex pump doesn't have that horrendous like ramp, that like ramp up. It kind of is a bit more linear.
Sure.
I think Kranzle, they always recommend, like if you're going to run an 1122 or a 1322, they recommend, I think it's a 4,800 watt or above,
Above. Okay.
generator. So you're right at that kind of limit. You're probably right at the limit of yours,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring out about the 630, obviously it's 20 amp, but you can get it under 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a numbers guy. So if the 2.3, and just like Josh, they gave us a review unit, but we both bought our own units too. And we're going to give away the free unit because we kind of want to be unbiased to a certain point. But to get the 2.3 type performance, to get the under 15 amps, you got to be at like 800, 850 PSI on the 630.
Yeah, you're going to give up.
And you're going to give up. And the active can do I got 2.34 with a 5.0 orifice at like 950.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stock, I got 2.3 at like 1100. So there's a big difference there, but I still like my 630. I told everybody on the videos, the 2.3 stays on the wall until my family complains about the noise. And they will at some point because it's right below their bedrooms. And then the 630 goes back up on the wall, or the Big Boy Pro, whichever.
I think Active will fix that. I think that I'm sure that Jude will watch this and he'll go in and they just need a different pump head. If they have a different pump head, I think it's worth. I'd rather pay $700 for one with like a legit pump head on it. That's my concern.
What if they went with like a 4-pole motor instead of a 2-pole motor?
Maybe.
Or would it matter with the pump?
Maybe, is there the possibility with that motor of a ramp up, because a lot of those, either brushless style or 4-pole motors tend to have like a delay, so maybe that's why they chose to do, the traditional style. Because
the Big Boy has the Big Boy has a 4-pole Pro. It doesn't have much ramp, a little bit. The 2.3 definitely is the smoothest ramp up of the ones I've tested recently. And another thing about the 630, I had issues with my garage. I had a 20 amp with a built-in GFCI and arc protection built into the 20 amp breaker. And the 630 and the Comet 1700 both tripped that breaker immediately all the time.
Interesting.
I had to switch to a 30 amp single pole, just a straight up outlet to be able to run both. It was weird. And the Comet 1700, I'm fixing to do a video where it's the 1700 versus 630 versus Big Boy versus 2.3 to go over all of them. The 1700 with the stock equipment runs like 1.5 amps higher than with upgraded setup. It was quite crazy.
What's your take, Josh? I'm really interested in this because you are a detailer, right? This is your profession. You've been doing it for 20 years. I'm sure you've heard my take on this. I'm not a detailer, but I'm a detailer, right? And
you're doing. Yeah.
So I it's my passion, right? So I'm almost cheating a bit because I never had to do it for a living. So I don't have any of that kind of that like, well, shoot, I have to do the grunt labor. I get to choose, right? So there's a real advantage there. So I may have a little bit rosier picture of detailing, but the thing I struggle with is, we talked about IP theft a little bit, and where I draw the line is that, some of these brands that invest and they come out with something great, and then I've experienced this a lot in retailers that copy, what I've done, and it's really frustrating.
We know who you're talking about, yeah, for sure.
It's capitalism, I get it, but it's really frustrating when companies don't have an original thought. They just go steal somebody else's idea and make it cheaper, or they do it under the guise that they're trying to make things better. So I'm interested, Josh, your take on this. You've heard me talk about this a lot. I'm cool with disagreement here, right? Well, where am I going wrong here? What's your take on some of that stuff, being as you've been doing this for a couple of decades?
So just on intellectual theft kind of deal?
On companies coming into your turf, this is your profession, this is your business, and then knocking off those companies that have supported you all these years and making great products. Do you not care about? I mean, does it matter?
I obviously care, right? Because it does affect the bottom line at the end of the day, and that's like, you're like, I put all this work in, and it's, now that they just kind of open the floodgates. And I grew up. I also, when I first started detailing, the first couple of years, I was also working for Reef Sandals.
Yeah,
so big sandal companies. I used to do sales for them out in the Caribbean.
Okay.
And when we first took over, a different distributor had given it to every single account. So we went in and consolidated the account base, and people hated us for it because, like, oh, I used to have it, now I can't have it. But it was a core product, right, within that industry. So like we felt the surf shop should have it, not the gift shop. And we had to facilitate things that way. So I definitely get that. And I think, it seems like you may have more of a hatred towards Amazon. Would that be? I mean, somewhat.
I don't dislike Amazon. I dislike the products so like Max Shine is a classic example of a company. There is no guy. There's no Max Shine. It's a Chinese conglomerate that they go to SEMA and they take their 3D scan tools and their iPhones and they get a booth and they pretend, and then they don't do that now, but this is what they used to do. And they just look for products that they can steal, that they can rip off. And so I struggle with that kind of stuff. Same thing with, quick disconnects or with short guns or with, a lot of this stuff where people go to Alibaba and they import something, they put a brand on it, and they start duping young men. Usually in our case, it's all men, right? Or like 98% male.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so they're duping young men, young American men to cheat on their wife, which is detailing. That's the freaking part that I struggle with so much. So
I understand what you're saying now. Okay, yeah. So I guess I do come from it from a different point of view, because as a professional detailer, building that business, right, investing all that money and then trying to build that business to where it's profitable for me, and coming from a position of being in big debt right off the bat, it really was a case, like, I guess at that point in my life, I wasn't looking at it in terms of like the people that put all the work. It's where can I get value, and that's where I was at with price. So again, within the surf industry with Reef, they started selling stuff on Amazon, and that killed a lot of the local stores, at least within the US base. For us in the Caribbean, it wasn't so bad because Amazon wasn't affecting us out there as much at the time.
Well, there's no problem with Reef selling on Amazon. It's the company that comes in and steals Reef's idea and sells it on Amazon. That's the problem that I have.
But what about Amazon putting out all the small independently owned surf shops now? Like, because now everything else is available on Amazon too. Now people are just buying it on Amazon versus in store, and then those companies go out of business.
Yeah,
so there's that.
Yeah, where do you draw the line, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you draw
for
the
sure?
line?
Yeah, some of the greatest products out there are available on Amazon.
Like what?
SJ's 28 guns.
Yeah.
I mean, CR Spotless. CR Spotless really, they added they changed the bracket. They added a TDS meter, but really that's an industry standard blue filter housing. There's nothing there. For me, it's different. Like IP, I understand, but where at one point do I know, like, inside stuff, where do I know if somebody stole somebody's IP?
Yeah, it's fair too. Yeah.
And say something like MJJC, people think, I don't see anybody else out there in the world with a foam cannon like they got. I know that some people don't like it because the foam is very thick. Some people believe dry foam is not good because it dries too quick and doesn't fall off the car. And Matt, you and Giraffe Tools. I don't know anybody out there that has a retractable pressure washer out there that I know of that's stolen. So I don't know if that's an IP that's been stolen. Mm-hmm. I go on Amazon. That's my thing. I find a new product that could help people provide value.
So
like I said, I don't really know if it's stolen or not.
Here's the question. Do you have a responsibility to figure that out?
I don't. As a consumer, if it's available on Amazon to purchase, I don't have.
See, I feel like I do.
Well, I mean, yeah. But
I'm
that's
not
like I
saying
said,
I'm
that's the
right. I'm
difference
just saying I
between,
feel like I do. I feel like I
that's
do.
the difference. Yeah, that's definitely the difference in opinions for sure. It's like another man's junk is another man's treasure. I
Mm,
mean,
mm.
it's just,
Yeah.
and not everybody's going to be the same.
I also,
yeah.
I mean, I really struggle with charlatans. You know, I struggle with, I just don't want to support that. And I struggle with companies that are full of crap. You know, maybe I shouldn't care. Maybe I should just let that go.
And there's been some good companies out there, good names that have come out with some bad products too. So,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah, especially the Griots electric foamer. I bring that up every time I want to bring up a bad product.
Now, so man, I struggle with this because I definitely lean towards Keev's point of view on this, but Matt, I absolutely get your point of view on that, and it is making me think a little more. Right, I'm trying to really process that. As I mean, MacShine is at least on the polisher side, they have a manufacturing facility and they create a lot of products. Now,
But they
not
bought a
their entire
Rupes,
lineup.
they bought a Rupes polisher, they tore it apart, and then they copied it. And who is it?
Yeah,
Who is Mr. Max Shine? Who's the guy?
I don't know who Mr. Rupes is though either.
Well, no, that guy exists. You know, those people exist. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
the Chinese IP theft is what I have no problem with Chinese manufacturing. I mean, you have to go there in most cases. I mean, half the stuff in a Rupes is made in China. You know, because they're the ones who make stators, they're the ones who make brushes, they're the ones
yeah.
who make the parts that the thing goes together. But you know, Rupes did the work. Now, I have no
And
problem with Griots. Griots went and said, "Look, we're going to take this now industry standard tech." And that was another question I actually asked Sebastian, who owns Liquid Elements. I said, "If all these, why are all these machines coming out in 15 millimeter and 21 millimeter if they're just copying Rupes?" He said, "When you're manufacturing, when there's an industry standard." Like the throw is now an industry standard, which Rup has created. You really can't deviate from that. Otherwise, you have to go get new approvals. You have to get new, UL approvals. And so the reason why all polishers look the same is because it would cost tens of millions of dollars to make it
yeah,
look different. Like, why don't they turn the
yeah,
handle this way? Or why does a pressure washer, like, for example, the reason why they don't sell any of these cheap pressure washers with short guns is because it's not legal. They can't
yep,
because of you could, hit yourself in the arm or something like that.
yep.
But again, I guess this is a gray line that I'm freaking making up. Keav, you have a line that you're making up. And Josh, you have a line that you're making up. And I'm glad that you guys because I throw shade, that's for fun, online all the time and say freaking Amazon guys, or I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about customers.
Yeah, you were. No, that's fine.
It feels like it
All
sometimes,
of
though.
all of you as a group. And then I
You got a
hope you
feeling.
fade back to me because it's it's not about that. To me, it's like I have this line, this ethical, moral line that I refuse to cut. But never everybody has that same line,
And
Like,
can I make a point? Is with the Mac, say the MacShine machine, right? If you compare a MacShine to the Rupes is still a better machine,
mhm.
right? It's smoother, it's a nicer machine. So in that sense, it's almost good that it's pushing them to go to the next level and next level and continually be the best. And if someone doesn't want, if someone again, if someone's just getting started out and like, I don't want to spend that kind of money on a polisher, well, I now have this option where I can get started.
Mhm.
My hands may vibrate by the end of the detail. I may be a little bit numb, but eventually I'll upgrade and go that route. Can I ask you, just on the subject of Rupes, with the new battery powered system that they have, how do you like that in comparison to Milwaukee?
I hate them both now. That's my problem. So it made me hate.
He's got a new cheap $200 machine he likes.
So I love the Milwaukee until
Yeah,
I got the Rupes. Now I hate the
yeah,
Milwaukee, but I also hate the Rupes. So here's the weird thing about Rupes. The balance of it requires you to use their pads. Not even
yeah,
in order for it to be smooth and operate great. The battery turn down is great because now, Milwaukee, you're always holding the end, right? You're holding it, and we've all gotten kind of used to holding the battery on the end. But the Rupes, because it goosenecks, it turns. Now, like on the freaking M3 behind me, if I'm polishing the door and the wide fender in the rear, I have to like turn the polisher upside down because the
yeah,
battery hits the darn freaking panel. And
yep,
so the Rupes with any pad but their own seems to be it feels like a flex, 3401. It feels like a forced rotation machine. It's like steering on me, right? But it's smooth as silk. And when you're on a flat panel on the hood, that turn down means I don't have to hold the battery. I can just hold it nice and tight. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And now the Milwaukee feels like a freaking grindy gearbox, but the battery's in the right spot. And the Milwaukee doesn't stall nearly as much. Now you as an expert, you guys that are polishing a lot as the expert, you can work around the stall. You can just manage the pad. But if you're a beginner, frickin' forget it. That Rupes is going to be really tough to deal with. You're going to be smacking the battery all the time. Many beginners aren't going to buy that anyway because it's $800.
Yeah.
But now I hate both of them.
I consider myself a beginner in this right here, because I literally have a Ryobi DA polisher and a old Chicago Power Tools Harbor Freight.
Oh, nice.
Like, I have not gotten into to polishing at all, really, but I want to. So I'm still trying to figure out what is this. Me, I'm going to have to provide value. So I'm trying to find a really good $200 to $300 polisher.
Yeah,
And I thought I saw a story that you did of something that you.
Yeah, so Liquid Elements is and so I did my due diligence on this guy because so what happened with LE is some dude sent me an email. Where is Liquid Elements? We're in the UK, or we're in Germany, and we're taking over Europe. It's great. And I deleted the email. And while I was deleting the email, I was skimming through it because I didn't read the whole email. I got through half of it, deleted it, and the last line said something like, "We're not like what you hate, Max Shine, or whatever." Shine. And so I undeleted the email, and then I went to the website. I'm like, this looks freaking janky. It was like, forward the email to Tommy, my product development guy. I said, reach out to this guy, see what he's talking about. And so he came here and he brought this machine. It's $200. And I'm like, this is just another ripoff, Chinese ripoff thing. And so I, just to bust his balls, I said, here's what I want. I want the owner, the company, I want him to FaceTime me right now. And I want him to show me why he's not, that he's not copying this stuff. And so this freaking guy, he gets some FaceTime in Germany, right then. I think it was like 5 a.m. or something like that. And he's walking around the dude's got like 2 3D printers in every single room in his warehouse. He's got like 20 rooms. And he's showing me all these mad scientist labs. And so then I grabbed the polisher and I put it on the car. And I can't explain to you, like, my brain exploded. So one of the hardest things for me to learn when I was new to polishing was keeping the pad flat, right? A Rupes tips, right? It tips and lifts. And so, Josh, you probably didn't even think about this because it's second nature, but
yeah,
polisher tips, right? It's natural tendency, because beginners, they drive with their they don't drive with their lead hand, on the front of the polisher. They drive with the rear hand. And when you drive that way, you tend to tilt the machine up, and you can't tell that the pad isn't flat. And so this machine, just the way that the dude spent all his time counterbalancing the thing so it sits flat. And so now I'm really freaking torn, because the $200 machine I like more than my LHR 15 Mark III, which I have a love affair with. I, dry hump that thing all the time. I love that. I want to love it. I want to love it. And so now I'm really conflicted, because I got this what I thought was a piece of junk, is probably, kind of like the ShineMate. Was it the EB620 is now the standard in 1-inch, that little thing that they came out with. Now Mirka is if Josh, if you haven't gotten your hands on a Mirka yet, I need to send you one.
I haven't yet. Yeah.
Frickin' change your life. So the Mirka is a gearless polisher, but in order for it to work gearlessly, it has to have a pretty sophisticated ECU. And so that's why it's $900. And that's why no one makes them that way. When they get rid of the gear set, they have to have this fancy ECU, this fancy electronics to control it. And so that's why it's so quiet. That's why there's virtually no vibration. It's freaking magical, but it's $900. And so right now, my favorite polisher is somewhere in between the Milwaukee and the Rupes, depending on how angry I'm feeling that day. Right? It is the and corded. It's probably this new goofy LE thing, right? And then the Mirka, the Mirka 3-inch. And then I've got to order one of those. It hurts my soul to order a ShineMate, but it looks like they're actually innovating. So I'm going to have to put my tail between my legs and order I think it's called the EB620, which is their new brushless 1-inch. Still a gear set, The problem I have with the PXE 80 is it's too big for a 1-inch and too small for a 3-inch. I don't want that hybrid bull crap. It doesn't work right.
Mhm.
So anyway,
So that's the difference between you and me is like that polisher that you would have thought was junk. I'd be like, oh wow, what a deal. Click, add to cart, add to cart. I
but then
need
it
to
sucks
try
at
this
both.
out.
It
But the
sucks
thing
at
is, I don't
both.
show products normally that are junk. Like if it's junk,
Yes, yeah.
I don't even show it. There's like 5 items for every one item that I show on the channel. And I could show the bad junk, but I don't want it's not fun to make the video.
See, this is why I needed you guys. I need you guys in my life to get me back down to reality because, I have to. I've got this moral line that I've drawn that is gray. It has to be gray because there is no direct line. Like there's no exacting line, right? But I've drawn it as black and white. Max Shine sucks. I'm not doing that because they're stealing IP from my beloved Rupes. But now the Rupes isn't the best. And so I think you're right, Josh. It's requiring them to innovate, to improve.
Right, right.
If they don't, they're going to get left behind by the copiers because then the copiers are going to make something better. And I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar on the foam cannon, the PF22. I was waiting, I was working with them for years to like make this thing work better, so it doesn't fricking tip over. And they were 2 years too late to change the bottle. And then let's make the bottle so it has a decent sized hole. And they finally did this jank thing where you screw it.
It's what the heck, right?
That was my last straw.
When I did the drop test on that, all 3 NTMs failed at the same point. All 3 of them broke thread at the top of the bottle on like the second drop.
Of course.
So
that was
I retail them.
And it hurt you too because like you have this bottle and you built an entire quick connect system around it. So now you're kind of stuck with it. So it's hard for you to move on to a different product.
See, I feel like I'm growing up here because I would have been afraid to invite you guys on here, right? Because I'm right and you're wrong, and we can't have an intelligent conversation. And I've learned a lot through having employees and kind of working on myself a lot too. Like, hey, you can't always be right. There's 2 sides to most stories.
When it comes to opinion, it's hard. Is there really a right and a wrong? I mean, there's facts and there's not.
Different in my case because this isn't much of an opinion. This is like real world experience. Like when Josh is talking about something where he's been detailing something for 20 years and he's talking about paint correction, it's not an opinion, it's an experience. I think that's a different thing, versus a reviewer, Keav. Oftentimes where reviewers can get in trouble is when and it is an opinion because they're not really a subject matter expert. I hate, car reviewers. You don't own the car, or you don't have any chance of owning the car. That's a waste of time to me. I'm looking for somebody that has some real world experience, not just some dude who's reviewing cars. Like Doug DeMiro now has real world experience. He's driven every car that exists, right? In the beginning, he was probably a bit of a charlatan because he didn't have that much experience. But actually, no, because Doug was working for Auto Trader and was in his whole life, right? So that's an expert sort of experience, which can be very different than just some Joe Blow giving you an opinion on whether this pressure washer is cool or not. And at some point, we all have to develop that experience. So you have to ship it at some point.
Then sometimes I just don't. I through experience and using things for a long periods of time. Sometimes I don't agree with the experts, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, it's
well, you're cheap, Keav. That's why you're not.
Wow, I mean, value.
Oh, that's a nice way to say it. Freaking cheap. Oh, geez, you're killing me. If we go to dinner, I'm paying for it, aren't I? You're paying. When we go to dinner someday, I'll just pay the bill and I just won't hold it again. Or we're going to be stuck on a McDonald's, it sounds like, and you're going to be okay with it. God dang it.
McDonald's is expensive in California, man, with the new minimum wage that got passed.
Oh, have you gotten a meal from a Five Guys recently? I mean,
oh my God.
It was like $18 for a meal with a little cheeseburger.
So let me ask you guys this, from a business perspective. Keav, you have a career, right? You have a job. Well, what happens if you have 275,000 subscribers on YouTube? What do you quit your job? I mean, what's your future path look like if you could write the script? What do you think that looks like?
Well, my ultimate goal in life is because my wife is 3 times more successful than I am, is to become that house dad. And this is a hobby.
Okay.
This fuels the hobbies. And
Okay.
I'll have a lawn care channel and I'll have this and I'll have that. I've told this on other podcasts before. I'm afraid for this to become my full-time job because I'm afraid I might hate it. Because
Mm.
I did the same. I was in IT for 8 years. I left on a whim. Liquid Molly offered me a job as a regional sales manager in the Atlanta area.
Mhm.
And I did that for 6 months. Made me hate car culture, made me hate cars, just dealing with shops and dealing with the industry. So I actually ended up leaving and going back to my previous employer because they asked for me to come back. So I don't, I'm afraid of it becoming the full-time job. It's becoming really good income right now. And
Mhm.
it's coming to the point to where I'm making way more than I can invest back in the channel. Because I started out in debt. This garage cost me $11,000 in debt to start the channel.
Mhm.
And it's paid off now and we're in the black. And it's April and I'm already in the black this year, which is really good for this type of niche. And like Amazon's going crazy, everything's going crazy. I'm struggling to handle the growth really. And
How
Josh, you grew really fast too. Like I just wonder how you handle the growth too. It's hard to handle with
how
the
do you
Yeah.
family and everything.
Keith, how do you manage, how do you think about like when you're thinking about business, do you think about the cost and the money, or do you think about just doing what you love and then you get a result? And if like how do you prioritize that? Like you put money out before you even had
Yeah.
anybody watching. How do you think about that? What is your take on that?
Well, I don't approach it so much from like say like a financial person would with cost and making sure everything is making its overhead and money. I may spend money here, I may lose money, I may make enough money from somewhere else. A lot of the Amazon junk pays for a lot of the expensive stuff as well.
See, that's why I think you're
The
full of
big
crap
boys and
because
the
hey,
active 2.3s,
yeah.
those are not going the affiliates pretty decent on that. People use the discount codes and active just kept throwing them at me. Josh,
Yeah.
I bet for you as well, they were and people, but it was all pre-orders. Nobody had it in their
Yeah.
hands yet. I got lucky. I literally had an active review unit coming. I bought a unit from Active on pre-order, and then somebody else in Canada got one a week early. So I talked to him. I was like, "Where'd you get it?" He said, "Carzilla." Really? I lived on Carzilla, and it was like $625 on Carzilla, free shipping. So I bought it, and I got it like a week before everybody else did.
Maybe that's why I thought you were
Mhm.
in Canada. I think that maybe
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah,
Big
that
Boy's
makes sense.
warehouse. Yeah, Big Boy's warehouse is in the same city I live in. So I got it was UPS. So in Georgia, if it's ordered one day before 2 p.m., it's next day, the next day of
You're gonna
ground.
get you're gonna get caught. This is Matt Mormon's prediction, knowing what I know. You're gonna get caught with your hand in the cookie jar with Big Boy. So watch your back.
So can I ask you where's so let's okay, so you've just seen them, right?
I can tell exactly what it is just by looking. You have to remember, I've tested 120 pressure washers. I can tell in 1 second looking at it.
There is
But
other
but
pressure washers out there with the exact same look, but I don't. And I talked to Josh this privately. One of my viewers sent me a snippet. That says, "Hey, in the UK, this is a blue color, and it's DTLR supply, I believe it's called in the UK." And but who's
no,
the
that's me.
origin? Oh, no, but that's
That's
actually the name of the
it was
company. It's
detail or something. It was
yeah,
DTLR Pro or something like that. I think what it was.
yeah.
Mhm.
Their distributor, I guess, out there. So I don't know if
Yeah.
it's being rebranded. I tested them. It's a pretty quality product, 4-pole motor, triplex pump, and for the price, I mean, it's pretty good. They're cheaper duo. I'm not a fan of, and that's where Big Boy had to reach out to me, and they're changing the nozzle sizes and resending out new orifices because it was overamped on YouTube, Josh, I believe.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah. Yeah. So, but Matt, though, I just wanted to, because you said that your initial email from Liquid Elements, you opened it, you looked at it, you said, this is junk.
Mhm.
So could that be the same thing?
Maybe. So, Josh, let me ask you that question. Same thing I asked Keith. So, you're 20 years in, your back's probably broken, your shoulder, your rotator
Yeah.
cuff's jacked up. You've
Yeah.
inhaled polish fumes for years. What's
Yep.
the plan? What's the future? What does it look like?
Yeah. To be fair enough, I mean, I have a lot of fun with the channel, right? Checking out new things. I have a lot of fun with that. I mean, to be fair, I could stop detailing. You know, like I do well enough from the channel. I could stop detailing. I won't, because two things. I do enjoy it. I'm much more pick and choose of the customers. I'm not working on the stuff that when I first started, right, you'd take anything, and those were the ones that were an absolute not. Oh God, they were the worst. Yeah. So now I do, you know, extremely high end stuff, and I enjoy it. The other side is I'm afraid to lose credibility with people too. Like I want to be out there every day, you know, or 3-4 days a week at least, working on cars, and like I don't want to lose that aspect of it. So I'll always keep doing it. Again, yeah, I mean the body for sure. I'll be 40 this year, and I'm feeling it for sure. You know, so I'm glad that I have other situations going on now. I've been looking into, a lot of people ask me about training and things like that. So I've considered that stuff. But you know, there's a lot of great trainers out there already. So I don't know where to go with that. But the channel I'm having a lot of fun with. So yeah, and again, detailing is.
What about for both of you guys? What about have you thought about the business side of it, like employees? Like, when do you start hiring? Do you hire people? Do you hire a detailer that you train up? I mean, have you thought about that?
I have a lot of respect for you for having so many employees, man. I've had like 2 employees at a time, and I've gotten to a point where it's just like, it's not worth for me. I don't know if it's a Southern California thing or what, but just the work ethic is so difficult to work with, you know? So it's almost a point where it's like, okay, well, I can keep them busy, but then there's liability. If they mess something up, it's on me. And then is it where it's, so I've tried to grow it that way on the detailing business side. And I've found just keeping it simple, you know, one-man show has been the best route for me. And then on the other side, I sell products as well. I have a website and stuff. So yeah. I've been doing all the shipping. I had somebody else do shipping for me, and they messed up a few times. I was like, well, I don't like that either. I'm doing all the shipping again. So yeah, it's just, it's yeah, I don't know how you deal with employees.
I have no aspirations whatsoever to have employees or do anything in retail. I'm coming from this enthusiast detailer side, and I don't want to no longer be an enthusiast detailer. So I understand from you guys the testing and experience and this and that when I review a product, I can't come from it always from the same perspective. I come more from that consumer perspective. Most of the people watching me, there's a lot of detailers. They take a lot of the stuff because
necessary. It's a necessary perspective, right?
Yeah. But a lot of detailers, especially guys starting out like Josh, they can't start out with all the stuff. So they look around, look for the ideas. Recently, I've found some pretty cool electric foamers on Amazon, and they do really well because I hate pumping. I don't pump anymore. I can't stand it. I'm 45. My shoulder hurts, and I don't even polish cars. So.
Yeah, for me, I think I take a lot of your like same thing. Like, and I guess when it goes back to the Active 2.3 and stuff, and Matt's worry of that pump head blowing up. It's like, well, nobody's tested it long enough to really get it to that yet. In a year's time, it may be, you know, but our videos are just giving out the initial impressions, showing that performance, which is, I think, what people want to know is just those performance numbers. Obviously, they want to know if it's going to last, but we don't have a crystal ball, right? We can't tell that yet. So
maybe that's part of my rub here, is that I'm approaching it from a little different angle than you guys, and that if I'm, you know, because I'm a retailer, right, on all these products, and so I'm always concerned about, you know, I mean,
you don't want to deal with the returns and all that. All that
it's just not right, or my reputation. You know, we'll do all the work.
Absolutely.
The work I'm not scared of. It's the you know, the reputation. I mean, I only get one. You know, unless I want to go, you know, cheat and lie and steal and, you know, can't grow my hair out. That's not an option. So, you know,
we get drawbacks from that as well. As if we review a product and give our seal of approval, and it doesn't work out, we'll hear it in the comments about this, and you know, you recommended a product, you lost credibility. We get those all the time.
Yeah.
The overall majority with the 2.3 so far has been pretty good. Like I said, it's the noise. It's loud.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I'm not.
Like I said, I don't know how it's going to work. Because doesn't the Kranzle have a smaller like axial pump as well? Like, it's not a large pump head either.
It's 14 times the size of the.
Yeah, I've actually never seen one up close. I've only seen pictures of one.
Oh,
one that you know what? I'm going to buy one just to review it. but I don't know if it's going to be a good review because it's not going to get the numbers that, you know, the 2.3, the 630 can get. Unless it's on a dual setup, then you somehow get more flow.
So here's my plan, fellas. Here's my plan. So part of the reason why I wanted to get you guys on this call, and I'm doing this with some other YouTubers and some other people. I'm like the old man in this game, right? And so I feel like a sense of responsibility that I think I could get like a lot of us together, And so what I'm planning to create over time here is to create like a mastermind that would be more business focused. Like, so we wouldn't record most of them. Most of it wouldn't be for, public consumption. It'd be for us. Bring in experts, bring in coaches, bring in, business people, and maybe do it with 20 or 30 of us. And then selfishly, what I want to do is create an army of affiliates that send, links back to my store, would be the goal. But to go out and provide value and then to develop relationships. Because the reason I started doing this is because I was all by myself. Go figure, with an attitude like this, no wonder I was all by myself. Believe it or not, I'm nice now compared to the way I used to be. But I did this because of to take life out of the transaction and then make it relationship based. And so that's been the whole thing with YouTube for me, has been the relationships that I've been able to develop with the brands, the people watching the videos, now in my case, the family, the employees that that I've been able to sort of maybe alter the course of their life and contribute to them in some way. And so I'd like to probably do a similar thing where we all contribute to each other, because we're all in a unique place. It's a lonely spot. Josh, you're there on an island by yourself. Keav, you're still on the channel, and we're all by ourselves, right? And so if I can bring in and maybe we can bring in a Roman Atwood or an Adam LZ or somebody who is, who has massive appeal, kind of explain to us how they did that. So my plan long term is to do that, and then Keav, I'll send you darn pressure washers, and as long as you send the link back to my store, I'll give you.
The funny thing is your last podcast. I actually pulled all my Obsessed Garage affiliate links off of all my videos because of it. I may be rethinking that, but I don't know, because my audience doesn't like you. Like, I'd say 95% of them. I would be considered a sellout probably if I did go that route. I'll give you this. If you put a big boy pressure washer on your website, I'll give you.
Oh, no way. I'll test one for you. I'll make a video, but I'm not. But I'd be willing to admit, if I do buy one and try it, and I'll admit I'm wrong. I always do. I do all the freaking time. Like, look, I'm wrong. I'm a freaking idiot. What am I going to do?
Speaking of that, you mentioned Roman Atwood. He's created a new YouTube channel because his new one's so big, it just hurts his engagement.
Yeah.
He just bought a car wash, and he showed the whole inner workings of the car wash there. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I think, the last podcast, what I'm talking about there is to be careful with, again, your reputation, because you can get duped by some of these manufacturers. So that's really what the message was about. It wasn't about, Amazon sucks. I mean, Amazon's fine, but we can't use Amazon as the only resource, because you're going to get duped by some stuff that, Amazon can't control that. It's too big. It's too big. There's a lot. It's not great. I'm sure you bought stuff. We've all bought stuff that we've kind of gotten duped into getting some piece of junk. And so, I think that especially with the access that you guys now have, the real value is in finding the deeper product, the product that's a little bit more obscure, the one that's a little harder for people to find. That's where I think we can provide the most value in the world, rather than just going surface level. Because remember, all this stuff that we're talking about, it didn't exist. All the stuff that's on Amazon is a result or a copy of all the stuff that I'm so dug in about. That's the frustration part. If I was just showing up today and starting today, I'd probably have a much different take. I wouldn't know any better. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we take a big risk as well, because a lot of the products that I buy, I like search Amazon and I sort by newest arrival, and I'll pick the things that show that they're out 3 to 4 weeks. Like, I know they're going to be China Express, or it's already scanned into an Amazon warehouse, so it's on the ship but hasn't been scanned into the warehouse yet, and no review on it, nothing at all. and I'm in my garage and I'll spend 2 or 3 hours just trying to put it through its paces before I actually show it. Some things like the big boys and the actives, the audience wants that review regardless.
Yeah.
The dicey part for you, Keith,
and
is
me
that
choosing it is my audience wants me to review that. Now endorsing it, that's definitely the risky part.
you have to remember that in order for you to sell on Amazon, it would cost roughly 40%. So people think that Amazon that they ship cheaply. They ship maybe like 25% cheaper than I do, right? And of course, they built their own trucks and stuff too. But like if their UPS account, there's still shipping costs, right? And that gets passed on to the off to the vendor. So unless you have 35 to 40% margins in your product, so markup profit, you can't sell on Amazon. And so you have to remember that a lot of those products that are being sold on Amazon have massive markup in order for them to make a living, because they also cannot say no to a return. You could take a brick, get the big boy pressure washer, put 2 bricks in it, send it back, and Amazon still has to give you your money back. Well, that Amazon doesn't pay for that. That goes right back to big boy. It goes right back to the original manufacturer. So you have to remember that the things that are on there are already at a disadvantage quality wise because of the cost. The reason why the rag company can sell towels on there because they have massive margin on a towel that's made in China, right? They can sell things, but you don't see Mosmatic on there. You don't see a lot of these, products on there because they don't have the margin to do it, because they spend too much money on the production of the product. The raw cost of the product is too high, and they can't mark it up to the moon, and they can't mark it up more than they would sell it somewhere else because Amazon will kick them off.
Unless it's the manufacturer themselves selling directly on Amazon, right? Like I know Ego
Yep.
sells directly on Amazon. MTM sells, I
No,
think they
Ego,
sell directly.
I don't. Ego doesn't. Milwaukee doesn't. So anything
They have
on
an Ego store, so is somebody just running that for them as a
somebody's
3PL?
just stealing it. Yeah, and Ego can't come after. They try to chase those down all the time. But like same with Milwaukee, Flex, a lot of those tools, if they're on there, it's somebody who stole it off the back of a truck and is trying to sell it. Because why would you buy it from Milwaukee at a 12% margin and then sell it on Amazon at a 40% cost? That doesn't make any sense. You'd have to somehow get.
Yeah, and especially on those tools like that, I know the margins are slim, so that makes sense.
Yeah, Milwaukee tools
I'm
are
looking
like having 10, 11%, some 12% on most of them.
Yeah, you'll find like Ryobi's
Yeah.
exclusive to Home Depot. If it's on Amazon, it's a reseller, probably a pallet place. I live near the largest flea market in the United States, and I walk through, there's like 50 people selling resold
Costco returns
stuff.
and all that
I save a lot of money there. That's all I gotta say.
What were you saying, Josh?
I was just looking up. So I looked up the little Amazon FBA calculator.
Yeah.
Because they do have the 1122 on there, right?
Yep.
Ships from unbeatable. I don't know what that is. Anyways, they have it listed at 1422 Amazon. So net profit would be 924. I don't know what so I know some people will sell on Amazon with that slim margin just because of the reach, right? So, but no, I definitely understand what you're saying with that for sure, and especially because.
So,
yeah,
but they might make like $50 or something because of a higher priced item. They may be able to negotiate down the raw cost of FBA,
sure.
kind of thing. Or they fulfill it. They don't let Amazon fulfill it. It's fulfilled by Amazon costs the most. And so they'll fulfill it and try to squeak out, $100 because of the volume, the volume associated.
Yep. But like you said with Amazon, man, where the no questions asked returns, like Amazon for the end consumer. And I guess that's really where I look at things too. I'm looking for the end consumer's value, but on Amazon for the people selling on there, they do not take care of the sellers. It seems like at all.
Yeah.
It's their end consumer is taken care of, but yeah, for the business that's listing on there, it's a different story for sure.
What I'm getting at is
yeah.
It's most of the stuff on there. What I was trying to get the point across in the podcast was most of the stuff on there is already at such a boat anchored disadvantage. It's really hard to find great things. Now I'm looking for great, right? If it's not great or the best, most of the stuff that's great doesn't have the markup in order to even be on there. So you won't find it there, in most cases. Or you'll find some gray market version that who the heck knows how they got it. They got it there. And then, warranty's denied. And a warranty's really important to people who are looking for a good deal generally because they want to make sure they're not getting screwed, on the product.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the main reason when I'm doing my research, I use Amazon. I never return anything to Amazon. I just keep it. But the Ali, like people say, hey, why don't you try on AliExpress? It's $10 cheaper on AliExpress. I'm like, well, there's lots. There are some people who do return, some people don't, but I don't know. Usually that it's people buy it from AliExpress or Alibaba and they'll resell it on Amazon. But at least I know if I push a viewer or somebody to Amazon that return policy is a big thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's important for, especially if you're reaching, if you're reaching for something in life. Let's say you're making a certain amount of money and you're reaching for something that may benefit your life and it's a big risk, or you're taking out on a credit card, which most Americans do, then that return policy warranties are imperative. I'd always argue, just wait. Just wait. Don't get it now. I waited on a Kranzle. I still bought it.
Yeah,
but that's always been my advice. And this is the the financial advisor in me comes out like, just wait. Don't take too much risk. At some point you got to leap, in life, but don't buy like the Ferrari first, and like have a progression. A progression in life is oftentimes more fruitful and more enjoyable. If you get it all at once,
great advice.
If you get it all at once,
for sure.
you won't enjoy it. And so don't take that big risk, because then you're increasing your odds of the bank coming and taking it out of your house, taking the house from you. And don't be paying, massive, credit card fees and things like that, high rates of interest. So in closing, I think we've made some common ground here. I'm coming around, Keav. I'm coming around.
Now listen, we're all adults here. Like I know I don't take anything personal. We see it with our audience, and every once in a while when we push a product like Draft Tools, we'll get some of your audience come over there telling us we're dumb. But call us it for
who's Draft?
But,
who's Mr. Draft? I want to meet him.
I don't need to know who Mr. Draft is.
It's got a long neck.
Yeah, that's the worst pressure washer I've ever tested.
That was the funny thing is when I tested it, Josh did as well. The Pro was not good. It did not get the numbers.
Correct.
And it's not worth the money. But that G20,
the cheaper versions were,
they wanted me to sign a Be Nice contract to get it. I said no. So I just bought it out of spite, and I was going to trash it. And I couldn't. It's sitting on my back porch right now. I use it to clear off my back porch because it's just convenient.
Mine's on the back porch too.
Yeah. 65-foot gray hose. It's not the greatest hose in the world, but it does its thing. I don't feel like,
how much is that one?
Setup. It's like, it was $230, I think.
Okay, so it's not the $400, $500, $600.
No, there's one at $600, and they just did an upgrade. There's a $750 one that they say they upgraded.
It's the same pressure washer. It's the same.
Yeah,
they just
different tip.
Put some a little orange on it or something, and charge.
It's like Ryobi. It's like they just changed the tips to get the better pressures. And that's one thing I want to say earlier is I did a video recently of the cheap pressure washer battle, Craftsman, Ryobi, Greenworks, and it seems like they shop parts. Because one version one year versus the version the next year, one squeaks, one doesn't. But then the other brand squeaks, and then the other one. So it's like they're just kind of throwing around the parts. 4
manufacturers of pumps in the world, and they're all, they're all the same basic same setup. And then there's the AR camp, the AROE stuff. There's the Karcher camp, which is exclusive, which is different. Like the new Ego has a Karcher based pump. That's why it sounds different. That's why it operates differently. And then you have the the Sunjo, whatever that parent company that makes all the the Sunjo stuff. So AR makes all the Craftsman. They make all the Stanleys. It's all the same pump that's in the the base AR stuff. They make, I think they also make, they make Griot's Garage. They made the original Adams. They make, that same company makes all of the, Briggs and Stratton, it was promising 3 gallons a minute and 45,000 PSI that was worse than a base AR or base Sunjo.
Well, that Griot's Pro is just a relabeled AR675, right?
Correct. Yeah. All the Griot stuff is, is AR based, and they don't care about pressure washing. They just know that their customers will buy, whatever they suggest. They'd be better off just going to, to Active and say, hey, can we just sell the Active 2.0? But that's not how they want to. They want a private label, which is understandable because they're brand.
Speaking of that Ego, I tested that the week it came out. I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's tough with the price.
You don't want a hose that doesn't have a wire in it. That's why it expands too much, and that's why the Active 2.0 doesn't work with that hose, because it it expands, you know. So you want a single wire hose. You don't want a 2-wire hose because then you can't freaking do anything with it.
Yeah, it's a good upgrade hose for those who want to stay with their Ryobi or their lower one,
It's
and they want to
lightweight.
graduate from that crappy one. Yeah.
You guys are
And you know, the funny thing is like I just built a wash box and I stuck with the M22. I used the 2.3 40-foot hose because it's actually a really good steel braided hose.
I'm gonna walk into your garage. When I come there, I'm gonna bring my like cheap scissors and I'm just gonna cut that Uber Flex hose in half. Say, see,
it doesn't sit on anything. I don't use it, so I like the Bluebird Kevlar stuff personally.
Like, that is interesting. I haven't gotten one of those yet, but that is interesting, the Kevlar idea, because then hopefully it'll help with the flex. You know, it won't expand.
Yeah, it's I weighed it. I think I have the essential washer hose, which is basically a Cobra Jet hose, IP stolen, and then normal gray hose, it's like the gray Cobra Jet. It's actually less diameter than any 3/8 hose, and it weighs like 6 pounds, 7 pounds. It's light.
The Cobra Jet, it was never anything special. You know, it was they just so happened to get a decent, Chinese blue hose that was pretty pliable, had a smooth jacket. And so MTM didn't do any of that. They didn't make any of that. Like it wasn't their IP or anything. They just
their quick connects aren't theirs either, right?
They're all made in the same place as General Pump, but it's technically made to their spec. But the Cobra Jet hose, the original one, not the gray one. The gray one's just a regular hose. The black one was just a regular hose. But the blue one had a smooth jacket, and the place they were sourcing it from, China. And then there's all pressure washing is done in Minnesota and Milwaukee. That's like the mecca of pressure washing in the United States. It's all done there. All the big brands that do house pressure washing and skyscraper pressure washing. So all the OEs are in that sort of Milwaukee, Minnesota, Minneapolis area. And so they just found a guy who had this hose, and then he was making them for them. And so that's kind of how the Cobra Jet hose came about. And then I took on the blue one, and because I liked how pliable it was. But then they freaking messed it up because they didn't have it, and so I was always out of stock. So I could go make it on my own and make my own darn hose. And so now I found a better hose made in Mexico by an American company called Gates. They make all kinds of different hose fluid delivery stuff. And so the Gates hose is now what would have been the former Cobra Jet. It's a little bit more pliable, and its jacket is a little bit different, but it's a superior experience. But it's freaking expensive. It's made in Mexico. It's an expensive hose. The fittings are expensive. And even me making it and not shipping it across the country is still, I'm buying it like 250,000 feet at a time. It's a real expensive endeavor. Yeah.
Wow.
Got it.
In order to get them to do it, to allow me to buy it, I had a 250,000 foot minimum at 90 cents a foot. To take a freaking. You want to talk about crap in your pants?
I know.
That's a diarrhea event there, man. I'm not as rich as people think I am. I'm just a freaking guy. It came from the trailer park. I don't have some backer. I sold lots of Kranzles, and every dime I made went for me to buy a darn Cobra Jet hose, my own version of it. So
you're going to hate to hear this, man, but I ran an Uber Flex attached to my AR630 for at least 2 years. Out of my mobile unit. It works great. Lightweight, pliable. It's been great. But I have a same thing with the Blue Shield. I have the retractable hose there now that I'm running now. But it's been great.
That's one of the few free products that I've taken other than an active and the Bluebird MJJC. I usually just buy everything. It's better expense that way, write-offs wise. But Elay, like we talked about earlier, I was like, I purchased their garden hose sprayer because everybody was telling me how awesome it was. So I said, my viewers want it, I'll do it. And now I freaking love that thing. It's all I use.
Did you buy the hose?
But the funny thing is, it's not made in USA. It's made in China.
I know.
But it is
I made that mistake.
Their design. Oh yeah, and they make it in China somewhere. But there's nobody out there in China is making a solid piece of brass like that. That's somebody specking the manufacturer.
The hose is made here, yeah.
if the hose isn't like $150, then it's got to be made somewhere overseas, right? Because it just costs too much to make here, you know.
Yeah.
And so you would
I've never
expect.
tried their hoses. It's just their sprayer.
All right, fellas, I think I kept you long enough. This is fun. We should do this more often. You know, maybe we should
Absolutely, man.
pick some other topics to discuss and debate. And I think we have some good perspectives. We have the pro, we have the poser, and we have the value
The
guy.
cheap guy. The cheap
Value
guy.
guy. Not cheap. Come on, Keav, it's value. And I think people might like this. I think for the first time, I think I may cut a couple of those parts out. It's just not worth the fight. I've never edited a video, but I think I should probably. What do you guys think? I think I probably should cut that out. I wanted you guys to understand my perspective and where I'm coming from.
Sure.
But I think it's probably better for me to just keep my freaking mouth shut. I don't like to edit. I mean, I think it's better that we're just candid and honest and authentic with the world. And I hope you guys get the sense. You've seen me in video. This is who I am. I'm the same dude. You guys, same thing. I got the same sense. You guys are the same dudes that I see on video. If you got a group of your people together, you can set up a training. Jason Rose will run it, right? And you can charge whatever you want. I did 2 of them. By the way, the people that came to those events, they're friendships made for life, you know, from people that we all had a common interest. I mean, some of my employees, you know, came from that. 3 of them came from that. And so you can do a Rupes training. You guys could both do it. You get with Jason Rose, say, hey, I want to, and then you talk about it on your channel and you invite people and you charge something. You know, you could charge $500 a head and do it with 25 people. The other cool thing is that you could then also be the steward. Like you could set up an account with them and they could buy the Rupes products at a discount through you. So I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought that's what Obsessed Garage was going to be, do trainings and events. The problem is I realized that it like drains my entire, like I get to go to sleep for a week after, you know, Keav, you would have this with the social part. Like I felt like I was dead, you know, like having to entertain for, you know, 2 or 3 days. But Jason Rose is freaking awesome. You know,
I mean, I've had opportunities several times. I mean, G Technic Works facilities right down the street from me. They used to sponsor my car, and I know all the guys there, so I could probably get a training if I wanted to. Ivan, every time he's in Georgia, he's always like, "Hey, I'll," you know, he wants to. I can't wait till that bus stops.
I'm talking about you host it. You know, it's
host it. Oh,
yeah.
That would mean I would have to sell something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I hate retail.
Matt,
I work in a very large retail business, and I work on the backside on IT, and I don't ever want to be a part of the retail business.
I understand. Pan the organizer makes zillions of dollars, and he doesn't want anything to do with retail. All he does is affiliates, sponsored videos, and YouTube ad revenue, and has no overhead.
And he just hit 1 million.
And he just hit 1 million subscribers, and he makes amazing. I envy him. You know, because he doesn't have anybody to report to. He doesn't. He sleeps all day and then works all night.
Yeah, so he told me he films. I'm like, what?
I film at
crazy.
I film at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Then I'll edit the next
night.
Yeah,
you're like
that's why I built the garage, because outside the bugs suck, the sound sucks. It's horrible. At night, you're washing the car, you're trying to dry it off, and the dew starts building up on the car while you're trying to dry it. That's why I built the garage is to take away all distractions and film whenever I want.
We don't all get to live in Southern California, you know. That's something we have to.
It's got good weather, man. There's a lot of other issues, though, for sure. So
you guys had a lot of rain this year, though.
We did actually, yeah. Shockingly, yeah. Matt, off subject, real quick, man. Of this stuff, at least. You went and met with that Gary Brecka guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did doing all those tests, did that help with any like?
So
like any.
Here's you know, one of the struggle I have is that I can't drive, right? So I have these cars and I can't freaking drive because the root of my obsessive compulsive disorder, it manifests in vasovagal syncope, so I pass out, right? I used to not even have this conversation. So if I'm, let's say I'm at SEMA and we're standing in a circle and talking, I'll just start panicking, like freaking out that something medically is wrong with me. And I start obsessing over that. And then I'm afraid I'm going to pass out. And so at some point it happened where I'm in a car driving an expensive car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could pass out here. And so now when I drive a car, I feel like I'm going to pass out. And so all these years. So when I first started YouTube, I was, 6'2", 205, super fit, CrossFit guy, and so then they put me on Prozac And so I gained like 50 pounds, right? And it changed my whole physiology. Like, and so for the last 10 years, you've seen me on YouTube, this fat slob. I can't get over the hump doing all these fad diets and doing all this stuff. And I'm always on and off some sort of medication, which makes it even more difficult. And so something clicked in August. Part of it was Gary Brecka. Like his video popped up. I was listening to Andrew Huberman a lot. And I'm like, what if like I got myself chemically healthy, physically healthy? Could that be the thing to like get me over the hump? And so I discovered Gary Brecka and, the concept of, I don't put my feet in the dirt, but, put your feet in the dirt and cold plunge. I bought a cold plunge. Something clicked. I went on strict carnivore, right, for like 6 or 7 months. And I stopped doing the fad and I just went to try to find the fit, find who I used to be. And so I paid 10 G's to go with Gary Brecka. And we don't talk about butt puckering, Keav. I mean, I got cheap on that. I'm like, but what if that $10,000 was the one thing that
changes your life, right? Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. The problem is Gary has become so popular that they can't execute, right? So I paid 10 G's. I had the meeting. He explained to me a lot of the things that I heard him, because he doesn't know what level of, I've watched every word the guy said for 6 months. So I knew all the things he was. So we went through all the rudimentary stuff, and then he prescribed me a process. That was 3 months ago, and I can't seem to get them to. I need to get them to prescribe me one of the peptides that they prescribed. Because my problem is I can't give blood because that's what makes me pass out. And so what I wanted to do was get really healthy, chemically, physically fit, physically healthy. Maybe I could then man up and go get blood drawn. So that way he could analyze my blood and figure out, what's
going on.
So a combination of the supplementation that I've been doing, the carnivore diet, what Gary Breck has been suggesting. So I can drive to the gym now. I can drive to and from the garage. I drive the Evo, which is my beater. I'm not driving my GT3 if I get my GT3, I feel like I'm going to freaking melt down. Or I get in my M3, which is irreplaceable, I feel like I'm going to melt down. I can drive my E36. I can drive my Evo to the gym, but like I can't go to the grocery store. I can't like drive down the highway. I can't do that yet, but that's what I'm working on with Gary Brecka. So hopefully
but it seems like at least going in the right direction, right? It seems
right. So I did the genetic testing to figure out, the MTFHR, and then I have COMT, and then he prescribed some supplements, which I haven't been able to take yet. So you're reminding me to get on the phone with them again to try to get them to get back on the plan. I certainly wouldn't pay the money to get with him, but you could pay for hundreds of dollars and get in with his clinician team, and they're going to prescribe you the same thing that he suggests.
Gotcha.
You don't.
So your premium was because it was direct with him,
right? And if you could do blood draw, then you're good, because then they can analyze your blood. They could analyze your genetic test. So the genetic test is a cheek swab, and then they do the blood draw. And then it'd probably cost you a couple $1,000s over the next year to work with them. Not 10 G's, to meet with him.
Right.
It's something in the universe was telling me if I meet with him, it could be the thing. And it wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't suggest that, but I would highly suggest you take the tests and go in the process. If I could give a blood draw now, I could probably figure out what the heck is wrong with me. But I'm definitely
genetic testing is a really good thing. My wife did it for us. Her family's Parkinson's, and through the genetic testing, they're able to find out she has the marker for it. So she's become a huge advocate. Goes all, she does spinal test, Matt. So that would make me faint. Doing all these like tests as somebody who has it but isn't diagnosed, so they can use her as a control and research her over years and years and years. But it told me about diabetes before I even was diagnosed with diabetes and all kinds of stuff. So the genetic testing is really cool stuff.
So Josh, what are you thinking about? Just getting yourself super fit, getting the next level? What is the interest?
Yeah. For me, so again, when I was working in the Caribbean, I was flying all the time. Never, ever, ever had any issues flying. I had my first daughter, first flight back after she was born, panic attack on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And ever since then, I have like a real issue flying. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm not afraid it's going to go down. I'm not afraid of any of those things. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, is it because I'm afraid if something happens to me, she's going to grow up without a dad? Like, I don't know what it is, but like, it's a real struggle now to fly. I hate it. And
It's
I
like a
never
trigger,
had
right?
issues.
Like something triggers
It
it,
is.
right?
Correct.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the passing out part is just a panic attack on steroids. It's like the ultimate fight or flight.
Yep.
Right? So the panic attack is
Well,
this reality of fight or flight, right? And so my
right,
flight,
right.
my body for whatever reason can go so far that it shuts down and goes to protect your vital organs, and then you hit the ground, and then you wake up and come
I
back.
feel like I'm right there at times. One flight, I was flying. I'm fine. We take off. We're in the middle of the flight, and all of a sudden it hits me. And I'm like, oh crap! I actually laid down in the aisle, and everyone's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Just give me a second. I'll be fine." But like, just give me a second. I don't want to pass out. I was like, "Dude, this
It sucks because you're a big,
terrible."
strong dude, right? You're this giant dude,
Yeah.
and you feel like everybody's looking at you, and everybody cares, and that makes
Yeah.
it even worse. And so I don't want
Exactly.
to inconvenience anybody, and I just, so I'm sitting like a stoplight is worse to me than driving 100 miles an hour on a back road.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
freaking so frustrating, and I think it's a culmination. It's like it's all of your life, of not doing the right things that kind of add up
Yeah.
to this negative, right? And so I've been spending a lot of time, and this is a large testament to why I'm on this call with you guys, admitting I'm a freaking idiot, is that, that working on myself. So the talk therapy doesn't fix it. The drugs don't fix it. It's a combination of all the above, to like get things right. Don't pick fights with that's funny. I don't want the fight.
Yeah. It's like I have a trigger too. It's like I was in a bad accident about 4 or 5 years ago. I finally, my kid was out of was at 16. He inherited my Ford Focus. Like I didn't drive a nice car until I was 40. And then I got the BMW. And after the wreck in the Maserati, I had a Maserati for 2 months, and a lady pulled out in front of me. I T-boned her. I, to this day, will not drive through that intersection. I drive out of my way to not go that way. And now that the intersection is changing to a roundabout from a stoplight, the trigger isn't there as much anymore. It's weird.
So would it induce panic? Would you get that rough?
Like, it was, yeah. And it was bad because my kid was in the back seat. Every airbag went off. I thought the car was on fire because all the airbag dust and everything.
But if you went
and then her kids were right there at the door. I hit her side door. The car seats went flying. She was on meth or something. Oof. I don't know. She was trying to drive off, and her kids in the back seat crying, laying on their sides, and it was a traumatic situation.
Oh. So if you went to, like, let's say, last month you went down there and you'd have a panic attack heading toward that spot,
I would have it, but I avoid it altogether to not have it. And the funny thing is I've seen an Amazon truck. One of my biggest Instagram reels that I have is a dash cam footage of an Amazon truck plowing through another truck. I had to run over there. The wife's in the back seat. She's bleeding out. The baby's out of the car seat. He's all messed up. And I'm over here trying to tell you, call 911 and you don't move him. Don't move him. Wait for the fire truck and everything. But that doesn't traumatize me. That intersection. I witnessed the guy die.
Interesting.
We're all freaking screwed up, people. That's the problem.
We all,
and we know that what you say on the videos is when you say freaking idiots or this and that and this and that. We know what's going on. Yeah. Our audience doesn't. They actually they're like, I hate that guy.
Yeah,
he thinks I'm an idiot.
They don't hate him. They don't hate me. They never.
He's a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, if you haven't met, you don't really know who you're really dealing with, So
I really am
the
nicest guy ever.
when I met you at BMW Invasion, you were the nicest guy.
I just tell it like it is. And that insecure people, that is real problematic. And I understand that I'm working on that. But if I lose that, then I lose the whole thing.
Yeah,
I lose me, And so what I'm doing is just going to go out in the world and try to explain myself and who I am so I can continue to be purely authentic and not have to fake it, because that's a tough life to live.
And me and Josh, we call things junk on videos all the time. But we go about it a different way. And the audience accepts it a different way. But when you're calling like cheap junk when you're reviewing other cheap junk, I guess maybe there's a little bit of a, well, maybe it is junk kind of thing.
Well, there's somebody out there that hates you for that because they have
There
that,
is.
and you just called
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
That's what it is. It's you're calling by proxy. Hey, I bought this thing, so I'm attached to it. And so then some guy's saying it's junk. So he's not saying the thing's junk. He's saying I'm junk. And that's where the,
Yeah.
that's where
But
the
literally, I have a video where I'm wearing an Obsessed Garage shirt. I have Swiss tracks on the floor, which I bought from Best Garage because at the time, that's the only place you can get it.
I
Because
like
they're
that.
made like in Dalton, Georgia. They're made like right down the road from me.
Mhm.
But I don't know. People are like, man, you're the Walmart Matt Mormon. They go, this guy must be a Obsessed Garage sheep. He's wearing he's got Swiss tracks and he's got an Obsessed Garage shirt on. So I just like the design of the shirt.
People like to, yeah, people like to say that. I would argue that that's we're the lions, not the sheep.
I've gotten the poor man's Matt Mormon.
Yeah,
Ah,
that sounds better than Walmart.
whatever you guys get, multiply it by 100. That's what I get. So, but and that's why I think, we need to get together on this because we're in a unique
Yeah.
spot that other people can't relate to. And it's a oftentimes difficult, not a difficult life, but it's difficult for other people to understand, even people in your life. Like it's, putting yourself out there has many, many fruits. Like I would have never been able to build this very niche business, because there's nobody in my town that's interested in this, right? There's
Yeah.
nobody in your towns, and there are very few. Maybe Southern California, there's more because car
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
But to aggregate enough people to have a channel or a business or something like this, like you couldn't just open up a brick and mortar store, and sell this stuff we're talking about. Like there
Yeah.
wouldn't be one person, one customer. You'd be out of business in the first week.
Have you
Yeah.
thought about selling your Obsessed Garage stuff on the affiliate program on YouTube?
What do you mean?
Because like I get denied every time I try to apply for Home Depot affiliate, but they only pay 1% commission. But now Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart
Yeah.
are part of the
I
YouTube
know what you're saying.
affiliate program.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we listed on the tags and they'll pay 4 to 5% now. I'm like, why you have disapproved me for 1% here, but YouTube's paying 5? I don't know what like you said
I,
with Amazon,
I
the
think
margins.
to answer that, I think I would want to be more selective of who I allow represent, who I work with.
Oh, the returns
Yeah.
too.
So like I would want to spend the time like we're spending here and then say, okay, guys, we can see, we don't see eye to eye on some things, we see eye to eye on others, but I can trust you. I can believe you, and so, and I think that has value that if we make it a little bit more exclusive to only, certain types of people, we can make it, I think maybe make it more useful in the future. Because I
Bet you it
think,
helps on returns too, right? Having that education out there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because then people are, you're going to spend more time. Like we get referrals from Pan all the time, and I'm sure we get referrals from you guys all the time. That's a much more likely case when you have a stamp of approval. It's more of a relationship than just a regular transaction. Because I don't want to be in the volume business. I don't want to be in the race to zero business. I want to be in the,
Mhm.
you said, Keith, the value providing business. If I can provide value, and if you're fortunate enough, if I'm fortunate enough to have you honor the source of that information, if I'm the source of it, I'd love it if you honor it. I know not everybody cares about that, but if there's a certain number of people that do, I can run a pretty decent business. And
Yeah, I
then,
mean, there's people who support. I mean, they're like, hey man, I I support. I love your channel. They just use my Obsessed Garage link whenever they want to buy something, or they'll, hey, do you have a link for this? Do you have a link for that? I think
yeah,
I've done about 20,000 or so with you. I know I went up to that 6% level
nice.
1 year. Is that every year? Does that change or is that over time?
I
Because
have
it went
no,
back to 5.
I have no idea. Somebody,
It was mainly Swiss tracks, which
yeah,
I don't know if it's that hurt you at all. That Swiss tracks now, I don't know if they're selling direct on Amazon, but they're selling on Amazon at the same price you
nah, I
are,
mean, we still sell a lot of it.
and you're free shipping. It's the same price either way.
Right.
So
Yeah, so my future, I'll answer this for you guys if you care. My future is so I don't have to have these arguments and these complaints anymore. What I was doing, like when Kranzle or AR or Active, I feel like I'm getting screwed. And I was like throwing my hands up in the air. And so I've been really working to figure out, instead of just throwing my hands up in the air, what would be the mature, like what I need to create a bigger problem. create a bigger problem, and then I can go and find a solution, which I love to do. We all love to do that, chase a solution. So my solution is, if I'm going to endorse a product or sell it on my site, I think it's a big mistake to go and ask for exclusivity, right? Because then, like, you guys are going to be less likely to talk about it. My competitors, other retailers are going to be less likely to talk about it. So I think it's important for a product, in order for it to be able to go viral, everybody needs access to it. And so in order to do that, what I'm building is a wholesale and building a distribution network. So, like, for example, I'm the representative for Built Hamber. And so I'm the North American, distributor for Built Hamber. And I don't want to be hoarding Built Hamber. I'll go to Jason at Chicago Auto Pros and see if he'll sell it, and go to Rag Company, see if they'll sell it, go to Carzilla, see if they'll sell it, have other retailers sell it, and then also build the affiliate network of guys like you to talk about the product. And then the other retailers, I'm getting a 20% cut. So now I'm happy. I don't care who buys it, I don't care where it goes, because I'm getting paid for me making the market and the product. And so instead of complaining about it, I built a wholesale company, and now I'm going to build out. So when I go to Kranzle or I go to Active in the future, say, hey, I want to make this pressure washer, but I want distribution exclusivity, and then let me choose what retailers get to sell it. Let me choose what affiliates get to affiliate with it, because I know the guys that are the best. I know the guys that are the good players in the market. Because what we don't want is a bunch of retailers that are stealing from each other. We want retailers that have their own audiences. Detailed Image has their own audience. Chicago Auto Pros, Car Supplies Warehouse has their own audience. Rag Company has their own audience. You guys have your own audiences. Instead of all this, stealing and lying and cheating and all this bull crap that goes on behind the scenes. And so that's my future, is to the next Kranzle. Like, I'm the only one that can sell the 1322.
Yeah.
Instead, I would rather the 1322 be available everywhere. Just give me a little cut. I'm going to turn my air compressor off. So that's my plan. To then I never have to complain again. Then I can just be happy. Hey, everybody can sell it. Good.
Your garage just got a whole lot bigger when you walked over there. It looked. I couldn't tell the scale of it until you walked over there.
So I lose this next week. So I lose this. This is my lease is up, and so I go to my new building, and so then I'm going to build that out. It's wild, man. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I'm literally from the trailer park, like single wide trailer. My parents work for me. I brought them here, and they work for me. My mom runs the warehouse. My dad runs he builds all the hoses, and and runs that part, the wholesale side.
That's awesome.
And so this buying this $3 million building is freaking wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's because I was just paying rent, and I just paid rent for this building, and I wasted money painting it and putting all the cool stuff in it. And so now to have my own building and like a real business is wild. It's crazy.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. What's the square footage of that new place?
It's 25,600 square feet, and it's already like every square inch is earmarked for something. Oh boy.
Yeah. What part of Florida are you in?
Just north of Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Central Florida. Yeah.
Got it.
That's why I asked earlier about the Car Supplies Warehouse. On YouTube, they did the affiliate for a little while. Like, when I was looking up products to tag to a video, I saw Car Supplies Warehouse on there, and now they're gone. So
well, they're in a bit of a
maybe it's not doing well.
They're restructuring. Jason is I think I don't know the whole story, but I think Jason's kind of taken over Car Supplies Warehouse exclusively. They have their PPF film, but from what I understand, they're kind of changing up the business a bit, and so I bet you they're sort of restructuring how they're paying out affiliates and stuff.
Yeah, they have like a wash bay rental business too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it seemed like Jason maybe just stretched himself a little thin with so many different sections going on.
So I know they're pushing Glove Box this month.
Yeah, they did a takeover on that.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to Jason's story. I watched this talk where he looked like he was at the end of. I haven't called him in a sense, but I do know that they've done a little bit of restructuring of who's in charge of what, and so I plan on reaching out this week because I want to see if he'll sell Built Hamber for me. So
there you go. Yeah.
I have to. So you're North American distributor, or because I know Carzilla sells Built Hamber.
Yeah,
but they're out of Canada.
We'll sell to them, so we'll sell to them at a better margin than what they get. So they'll be one of our distributors likely. I sell as well.
I had a question about that. So if the active 2.3 is too loud, the 765 blows it out the water though, with how loud it is. From my perspective, it's a whine. It's like 90 something decibels for me.
What's the 765? What are you talking about?
The ego blower.
The ego blower.
If you use the blower to wash a car,
That's
why is it okay for the ego? It's called a 765, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
the 765 CFM. They're highest.
The 580 is the best blower.
The 580 is your favorite, huh?
Yeah, it's just a better user experience. It doesn't matter because it's discontinued. There's only a few left.
Yeah, they have like a 650 or 600 now.
Yeah, the 650 is the worst one. Like it has the worst performance. The 580 was always kind of that happy medium in weight and balance and the way it sounded and the amount of air it put out. The 765 does more, but it does it more sort of, I don't know how to explain it. It's something about it just doesn't feel quite right, but we have to use a 765 because the 580 is done.
Yeah, the 765 for me, when I reviewed it, it was more fatiguing to my shoulder versus say the Ryobi, because the battery, if you use a 5 amp or 6 amp hour battery, the weight is just right there. Like
so
just
to
behind
answer your question, if they made a silent leaf blower, I'd be all over it.
You gotta check out Ryobi then. You gotta try out the Whisper series,
Whisper
Ryobi
series
730. Like you can't hear it from 100 feet away.
I'll check it out. The Ego, what I love about Ego is their batteries or their battery tech.
Yeah.
And then of course having the universe of batteries, and I have like the little generator and all that stuff. You can do the same thing with Ryobi as well.
Oh yeah, there's tons of really good, valuable batteries on Amazon too for Egos.
Yeah.
But have you tested those? I hear that those can. They're not giving out the correct current or whatever, and can. I haven't tested any of them.
I've never tried one before.
I don't know how to test the battery. I haven't devised a test for how to, without cutting it open or doing something crazy.
Right.
So I'm not sure.
I've seen videos of people taking them apart, and it is the same battery, but I don't know if it's put together the same. I stick with I'm a Ryobi guy, so I'm I have the generator thing too, and I'm actually going to try to make a video to like create
most of
battery powered pressure washer.
The cells all come from pretty much the same, like Samsung or Panasonic. They're all very similar.
Yeah, most of them are Samsung R20s.
It's the tech. It's the circuit. Reason why Milwaukee tools are generally better, their batteries are better, is the tech, that the circuit they have for overheating and how they they don't have a ramp down. So it's the circuit and they're the ECU in there, if you will, that does the control board that does the work, and that's where a lot of the difference comes in. But it would be really interesting if you guys could figure out a way to see how much current it's drawing to make sure you're not overamping it by putting too small an orifice or putting the wrong foam cannon with it. Because I'm using the 1.1 on the Ego, but we don't know if that's safe or not. We're not really sure.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way to judge it.
And it's an $800 or $450 machine with the batteries, but you burn up a $450 machine by using the wrong orifice. And you're using your own foam cannon, technically that you're kind of voiding the warranty. So it would be cool to give people that information. I just don't know how you would do that.
I wish it had like a simpler version. I don't want a Bluetooth controlled,
I don't either. Yeah,
bulky gun. Yeah. And I found a way to adapt it down. Like you could turn that into a short gun. You just need a 3/8 to a 1/4 inch conversion to be able to use a 1/4 inch quick connect. But the numbers were pretty good. Like I think I got.
I was surprised how much PSI I got.
1.6 gallons per minute if you use turbo on a
and
white.
And at 1.1, it does the 3,000 PSI.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. So
I get less PSI than you guys do. So I usually get between 50 and 100 less than you guys do.
Interesting.
And flow, I don't know. Sometimes I get a little more. It could be my water,
cheap gauge,
my electric,
Keav,
electric. No, man, I've got 10. I got 10 gauges, but we got to talk about the gauge in your 2.0 video then.
Yeah, that gauge is junk. Yeah.
I bought like 10 gauges and they're all about the same. I bought a $300 hydraulics one and a $99 one. I prefer the $99 one, but I'm still 50 to 100 less than what everybody states. But I get the same flow. So
you're 50 to 100 wrong. That's all I have to say.
It's got to be. At least that way I can't overstate the numbers. But
that's true.
My flow numbers, I think, is my water flow here. The temperature wise is usually a little bit warmer than most places. Yeah. Summer I get more flow because obviously warmer water gets better flow. But
I tell you what, Keav, I got a trade for you. If you come back on board, you use affiliate links. I I'll use and credit you because I don't want to test any more pressure washers. You guys do the testing. Tell me what fittings I need for it, and I'll credit you in every on all the stuff. Think about that. We'll send all the people to your channel for all the future testing. Go to Josh and Keav. I don't want to do anymore.
Well, that's what Pan did with you, Josh, right? Like, well, you
Yeah,
have
we
a
did
snippet
a
of-
collab where and we just kind of went through the whole gamut of different price points all the way through.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to do that, man.
I should probably go home. I've been here since 7 a.m. I just finished polishing this car. I've actually had to do some real work for once. I agreed to do these two E30s from my buddy that owns Enthusiast Auto Group, and so once this the obsession thing. Once I get started, I'm like, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
The thing that sucks about making videos on polishing, you can't just do one panel. You got to do the whole car. So I only need I want to show people how to wax an old car. I got to do 30 hours of work just to make a 10-minute video.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I don't get into that. I even sent out the new C6 ceramic stuff that he wants me to try on my hood because my hood probably goes through more testing than any hood out there that I know of on a daily basis, just normal wear and tear. But yeah,
detailing's hard work, man. Hard freaking work.
It is.
I pay somebody to polish my car because I just don't want to do it. I just wrap it. If I just wrap it, I'm good. I don't have to worry about it.
Hard work, Josh. You got to figure out you got to get yourself a nice assistant, and
I know. Once my daughter's gonna get older, maybe I'll put them to work.
The struggle is that in detailing, it's a really hard business to train because you have to show them a lot. And then what ends up happening is they're like, well, shoot, he's only paying me like 30% or 20%. I can do this on my own. Even if I discount it to 50%, then I can go hang a shingle up 2 doors down from you. And then they start calling your customers saying, hey, I'll do it for less. I was the one doing the work anyway. So that's the age-old problem in a detailing business, is overcoming that. It's difficult.
Absolutely. And non-competes in California never worked anyway, but now it seems like it's a national thing. So
that's a federal change now, right? The non-compete thing.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. It's just it's
then how much money are you going to spend fighting it? More than you would get out of it.
Exactly.
We're trying to force it. By then, the customers have already left.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's dicey.
It sure is.
Cool. All right, let's do this again, fellas. I'm going to do
absolutely. Matt, thanks.
I'm going to do a little editing.
Thanks for having us on, man.
To make us all look good. And and I'll be honest, and I may even open the video, say, hey, I've never edited out, but there's a few things that would get me in big trouble, so I'm going to edit that out. It'll just be between us. But I think we should do this again. I think people are going to like this. I mean,
for sure.
We share a lot of the same audience. I mean,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean,
except for
mine is much less than you guys, but
well, all the guys that hate me, maybe someday I can get them to come around and realize I freaking love this. What it is, I just love. I cannot explain to you how much I love this. It is my.
Do you have kids?
Dude. Yeah, I have a 9 and 13-year-old.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, this seems like it's another kid, like another baby for you. That really.
Yeah.
Not much going into it for sure.
My wife is a freaking superhuman, so I'm like a 1950s dad, she does everything. And and lets me do all this crazy stuff, I'm
kind of the opposite. Is like I feel like I'm pretty successful in my life, but my wife's 3 times more. So I actually do a lot of the housework because she's the executive in the family. And she makes all the money.
I might take her up. I'd take her up.
I was thinking, listen, we're only too far off from this hobby paying for itself and maybe paying for a few other things. And then you give me a honey to-do list and I'll be a house dad. And I'll do that for the rest of my life.
You're onto it, man. I mean,
except for having like 401k matching, there's like a big benefit to working for a company, right? Because you max that 401k out, keeps us from that next tax bracket.
Yeah, but you could start, like I have the 401k that I started, with the company.
Do you have a solo 401k?
No, well, I have 40 employees, so I just.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, wow, you're 10 away from FMLA and all that kind of stuff, right? Isn't it 50 the threshold for all that kind of stuff?
I don't know. I don't deal with any of that.
OSHA and all that junk.
That's what I got people for, and they do all that stuff. I have an assistant. So I've spent most of my time in the last, 3 or 4 years to cultivate young talent, and to give up a lot. And it's difficult because it's hard to explain unless you've been there. You lose. I've had at least 4 or 5 events of like I have no self-worth because what I was doing, I hired somebody to do, and now what am I supposed to do? Until you figure out what that next level up is, that next promotion you're giving yourself, it's a really odd thing. Like the first was when I got fired from wealth management when I left that career. And then it's like, I don't have to go into the office. I still like every other night I dream like I'm not calling my clients. Like I didn't call my clients. I'm moonlighting with with
Yep.
sockets and wrenches, and I should be calling my clients. Like I don't. I'm like, wait, you don't have clients. There are no clients. And so that kind of imposter syndrome that happens as you elevate and as you promote yourself, and it's a really difficult thing to do, to take that next step from a business perspective. But now I get to I'm going to enjoy the fruits of that for the rest of my life. The leverage that you get if you can get over that hump, that initial leap. Keav, you said, look, I never wanted any employees, but I think you're onto something here, and you're onto something. You can make your life better if you figure out how to leverage others, and not just leverage them but contribute to them. It's super fulfilling, man. It's been really, really great. Someday if you guys are ever in town, I'll take you through here and show you and introduce you to some of these young men and women that work for me, and kind of tell you that story of how you put it together. And it started with 1 and turned into 3 and turned into 5 and turned into 10, and it'll probably be 1,000 at some point. But the fulfillment you get from contributing to others rather than just worrying about yourself all the time is not natural to me. It's natural to be selfish and to be introverted and to just want to be by myself. But when you step outside of that and start inviting others to do things, it's freaking awesome.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. That makes me kind of rethink the whole process too. I always think of it too. That I know it's my fault that my employees haven't worked out. Like it all lands on me. I feel like I haven't built it out the correct way. So,
if you ever want to chat offline, I'm happy to share you, because I was where you are at some point. Technically speaking, you don't have a business unless you have people. Otherwise you're you're a practitioner, moonlighting as a business owner.
That's why everybody asked me, say, why don't you have an LLC? I said, well, I don't have liabilities. I don't have employees. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm a 1099 work. It's basically what I'm doing, because I don't sell a product. Everything's just 1099.
But again, like I said, they're like Pan's choice. Pan and I probably make the same amount of money, and he has a whole lot less headaches than I do.
Doesn't have to do. Yeah.
Well, think about like guys like a guy near you, what was in Florida. Probably the biggest YouTuber I watched, Cletus McFarland.
Mm-hmm.
He did his own videos until he had 2 or 3 million subscribers before he pushed a lot of the editing. He still does most of his editing.
Yep.
And obviously he has guys that do the other stuff and run his huge merch business and all that kind of stuff. But
LZ does the same thing. He didn't have an editor, and he still only has a part-time editor. He edits most of his videos himself. A lot of those guys don't want to give up that control.
I think a lot of it's not just that, but we feel like the vibe of the video could change if somebody else is editing it. Because you see like guys like Heavy D Sparks, when they have like
I thought that same thing.
They feel over edited. Like I don't want that over edited video either. I just want
the right person. So here's how I did it. I hired Bryce. Bryce is really creative. Sat Bryce down and I showed him, here's how I edit this. First thing, if I do something stupid, always leave it in 100% of the time, because I'm not very nice and approachable. I know what my face looks like. And so in order to have any chance to break through that armor, if I cut a hole wrong or I bust my knuckles or something bad happens, you have to leave that in, because otherwise it's not very relatable, right? So I told them that. And I had him sit there and watch me edit. Here's how I edit this. Here's how I put it together. And then the next time I had him sit down and I reiterated, hey, if I did something stupid, leave it in, as long as it doesn't drive us off a cliff, leave it in. and then he edited it and I critiqued it. And the third time I said, edit this and show it to me. And then that was the last time I ever had to edit. And
I do the same thing, but I put the bloopers
exactly the way I want. And then
I put the bloopers at the end.
He trained the next guy. Right. And so you can have an editor do all this stuff for you. And I think I hired Bryce. No, this is, 5 years ago. I hired him at like 30 grand or 35 grand or something like that full time. He was doing a bunch of other things. Bryce is now my CTO. He runs all of our assets, all the technology, all the website, everything to do with, I think I have 50 MacBook Pros. He manages all of that, and does all that stuff. And he was just some kid living in his mom's, living in his parents' house. Now he owns his own house. He owns a rental.
That's rad.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool. And so all I did
So
was sit him down and show him twice, and then he had it.
that's awesome. That is
It's tough because kind of the videos we do, because well, at least for myself, I'm not pushing a site or anything. So I put the bloopers at the end. I don't put a lot of the mistakes in the video, because when people are searching most of my videos, they're searching the name of the device that I'm reviewing and they want to review.
Mhm.
If I talk too much or do stuff, they'll be like, would you just shut up and stop talking? Is what you get in the comments. Could you just get to the point? And it's tough to like carry on a conversation and create a rapport with your audience, because you're trying to talk to your subscribers. But 92% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribers. They are searching SEO and getting my video.
So
I've been getting that I talk too fast, and that someone commented shout out to Adderall the other day. I was like, what the heck is?
I've taken like not classes, but I've done a lot of online stuff to learn to talk. I used to talk really, really fast in my first videos, and people would say that. I'm learning to slow myself down, catching my ahs and my ums, and because the jump cuts in the videos look weird when you're cutting too much. But when you see all the videos when they're cut a lot, it's because they're saying I'm trying to learn not to do that.
Yeah. So the key, I think, is to have a style and stick to it, and then your audience will eventually come around to that style. And then, and you're golden, and you just keep that style. Like Keav, you put your edits, put the bloopers at the end, and then people go and know, they want to see that. They know some people probably just skip to the end, just to watch the end of it, and they stick to that same formula. Mine was always, I'm going to do long form. I like long form. Joe Rogan podcast, I listen to every episode. Dan Carlin, Hardcore History, which my favorite movie of all time is Stephen King's The Stand. It's 6 hours long, and so I just like long format stuff. And so you didn't know this, but in the beginning of YouTube, you had to get special permission to make a video that was more than 15 minutes, because they didn't have.
Really?
Yeah, in 2014. 2014-15, you had to like submit an application to get approval to make videos longer than 15 minutes, because mine were an hour long unedited of me just talking.
And actually now YouTube pushes long form. I've noticed that videos that are over 15 minutes in the 18 to 20 minute range, they do better. And you'll notice all of the big YouTubers are all doing longer. They're not doing the jump cuts, the ADHD 10-minute videos. They're all moving to 30 to 50 hour long minute videos, because the ads are obviously, the ad pay's got to be good. And an audience like, say, Cleus McFarland, they watch that bad boy all the way to the end. They are Mr. Beast, huge retention.
I always made sure I never look at analytics. I never look at watch time. I never look at demographics. I never look at any of that stuff. I just made a decision early on. I'm just going to do me. And this isn't the right way to do it, by the way, but I'm just going to do me. And no matter what happens. And this is going to take a long time. And I've just recently, Josh, you were going to pass me up, I'm sure. So I'm doing the Adam LZ project. And then I just had a recent little spike, but I've been doing this for 10 years. And I'm at 600,000, followers. But doing it my way has created a great business, but not a great YouTube channel. And I think I'm okay. I've been okay with that. I think that if I keep down that turtle, that slow and steady. Pan started 2.5 years after I did.
Yeah,
really, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the YouTube Studio app it's cancer. Every day you put out a new video. Is it 1 of 10? Is it 3 of 10? And then I know now if you niche yourself too much, I'm niched into car detailing, car washing. So I'll do a video reviewing a Viper chair, and it will do horribly, or something like that. And you have to I've actually learned secrets that when you post the video, you check the box that says don't recommend this to your audience. So YouTube is more likely to send it to a broader audience. There's actually a checkbox in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Never even knew that.
I don't know.
I've taken the Joe Rogan approach of just post it and post and ghost, right? I look at comments, but I try not to go too much just because it's like, man, dude. Like,
that's another thing about Pan.
99%
He
of it
answers
is
every
you know?
single comment on his
Yeah,
videos.
I
do.
always
How do
tell
you
him,
do
like,
that?
dude,
I do a single layer. So I use the Creator Studio and I go through comments and I have the filter checked. If I haven't reviewed it, right, or
Mhm.
whatever. So and so I won't ever do a second follow up generally unless it just happens to scroll. And so I manage all my comments that way. I like everyone just to let them know I read, unless they said I'm stupid or something and I won't like it. And then so I wish it wasn't a heart. I wish it was a thumbs up or something. So I do the heart thingy so they know that I read it, and then I respond and I learn a lot. Learn a lot of stuff. I've learned about a lot of great products, a lot of different things over the years. And I've done that, from the very beginning. I'm certain I've read every single comment with the exception of the replies. So if there's lots of replies, I won't see it because I don't go back to it. And that helps me. I'll post and ghost like, screw you, see ya. And so that's what happened with the big boy post. I responded and then I'm gone. So
that's it. Yeah.
they're probably still going. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no
That's
idea.
my thing is like I do comment on every single comment, and then the replies is the tough one to understand, because sometimes you don't
Yeah.
reply, you just want to
See
hit
'em.
the little like button, but then it says you didn't reply because you didn't comment back. So
Yeah, I've gotten a
Matt,
lot out of it over the years.
Matt, weren't you going to do a garage build with TJ Hunt? Because he's in my neck of the woods, relatively.
Yeah, he hasn't built that garage. So he was going to build our garage on property, and so we were talking about doing that. And then he bought the new facility. So we may do it for him, someday. But still hasn't built the one at his house.
Got it.
Someday if he did. I like TJ a lot. He's great. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I've seen him at some local car events and stuff, but I don't know him. So, but yeah, I was always wondering about that.
Garrett's cool too. I've only met Garrett a couple of times. Tavarish, like Freddie Hernandez is a really good dude. Adam LZ is good, good friend of mine. Maybe not as good of a friend after I built his house for him. And
and then Garrett, he just bought a dang airport.
Yeah,
looked beautiful, by the way,
crazy.
man. That house looks insane.
So I'm like I'm like grown up. I've got a wife and kids, and I'm living in a bus on the side of the house, selling my soul, to do
That
this.
place is in the middle of nowhere too.
Yeah, it's 2 hours from my house in this frickin' swamp. It's 30 minutes to the grocery store. Stuck there, and I can't drive, so I'm stuck.
Right.
I'm stuck.
So you didn't drive the bus there. Somebody drove it for you there.
Yeah,
right?
somebody drove it for me there. Yeah, the only way I could go is if somebody brought me or took me to and from. Talk about a nightmare. I'm a car YouTuber, and I can't drive a car. Talk about the worst possible sentence you could give anybody.
And you have such fun cars too,
Yeah, it's just there. It's in my garage. It's right there. It's paid for. It's mine. I've got 318 miles on my GT3. Not because I don't want to, not because I'm afraid to put the miles on it, because I can't frickin' drive it.
Yeah.
So whenever
can drive your other
whenever I'm
cars.
talking smack, always know that I'm like an infant. Just remember, Matt is an infant. I'm better than him. So no matter what he says, it's nonsense.
With my cars, I mean, I'm afraid to drive my cars. I have a BMW X1 daily driver, and I'll drive it anywhere. But if I drive the other car, like I'm like, please don't hit something.
Hey, at least you can drive it somewhere. I can't. So anyway,
we'll get you over that hunt. We'll get you over that hunt, man. Hopefully, once hopefully you get all dialed in with them. Like I said, call Gary Brecka and figure that.
Starting to get him back on. I mean, look, I'm starting to.
I know, dude. You could,
starting to not be such a chubby slob, and I'm like 220. I got down to 210 like shortly. The LZ project threw me off because I couldn't work out the way I wanted to. I took all my stuff there, but then it kind of, it was exhausting being there. And so now I'm back on track the last, month or so. I can't wait I'm finishing these couple of detailing projects because it's detailing season. I've got to do it. So as soon as like next week, when I finish these cars, then I'm going to start digging into my building. And so I'm going to start to build my new home and start taking wallpaper down. And I actually got Rytech doors. So the first time I've ever seeked any kind of sponsorship is on my garage in the new building. mainly because I'm broke and I don't have any money to pay for it. 'Cause we bought the
After all
building.
those hoses.
Yeah, well, the building, the building
The
paying
building.
paying
Yeah.
for that.
Fair.
But some Cree is going to sponsor and bring their crew, and we're going to shoot and really showcase the product. Swiss Tracks, Kranzle, Nussbaum, and so I got Rytech. I convinced Rytech. It's so funny because I'm always railing on it's like the 50-year-old white dudes that are cock blocking all of us, right? They're the ones that are in charge of like the marketing. And so I was on a call with Rytech with 5 50 60-year-old white dudes, and I was just doing my thing, and I got them all on board, so they're fired up. Those are the doors that go up in like
Nice.
1 second. And so they're going to do it with me as well, which is going to be really, really cool. So it's going to be this garage on steroids, like the greatest thing I could have ever dreamt up.
So is that just change for mentions, or are there going to be logos on the walls?
No, it'll just be there. What I need access to is their people, right? I'm not even so care about getting the free product, but they probably should. They should be paying me for it, right? But I'm not asking for that, especially with these commercial brands. They don't have budgets for that. So what I'm asking them for is their time, their expertise. I need access to their engineers. I'm going to fly to Minneapolis, watch my door being made, and do that whole thing. But so what I'm promising to deliver them is we're going to vlog this whole thing. It's going to be 50, 60, 70 videos of us building the garage from start to finish. And so their part will be showcased in the 50, episode vlog. They'll probably be in 10 or 12 episodes or something like that. And then, of course, I'll do the showcase specific product videos after it's done. And so my argument to them was like, look, you couldn't pay for this. Like you couldn't just hire an agency and get this. And by the way, I'm madly in love with your door, and so I want to buy it. I want to own it. I want to dry hump it. So you want me, representing your product, right? And so that, that convinced them to be a part of it, because they would normally blow off an influencer like us. I mean, they're doing, Porsche dealers, and they're doing giant warehouses all over the country. They don't think that consumers are interested. And the average consumer isn't, but the kind of type of people that I'm selling to, they'll want to write for sure.
You see Benpack doing that a lot with YouTubers and
but Benpack is
advertising
more
on
consumer
channels.
focused. They're focused on the consumer, whereas this company's focused on warehouses and and commercial. And so for me to convince them as a consumer that there are consumers that want your doors is always the more difficult task. That's been the real struggle for me over the years, was convincing these companies, hey, I understand that you don't think there's a customer for a Kranzle pressure washer. That was the argument. They're like, look, we don't sell to consumers. We're not interested in consumers. And so every single product in this garage was a fight to convince them that the consumer is valid. And so that's why I'm so dug in on this. I've been such an advocate for the high end consumer that I feel very protective of that. And that's part of the bravado of me saying things are junk, and it's because of my love affair with some of these great engineered products. But it's been a fight because every single company has told me no. Everyone, all 300 companies that I sell, and I have to beg and plead and steal, and then afterwards, I'm their best friend. Right? And so I'm just now starting to learn, 10 years into this, how to actually have the conversation and get them to say yes in the first go around. Yes, and it's not even yes, give me something. It's I need you to say yes to let me sell like $1 million of your stuff. I'm going to pay you to sell, and then bring all kinds of new people. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for you to give me anything for free. I'm not asking for anything and you to pay me. Just let me pay you. And the answer, nah, I don't think it's never the CEO. It's always the 50-year-old white dude that has the power. And I don't think so. So I'm getting better at that. Right. I didn't. That wasn't my doing.
Oh, you didn't?
It was. He was done, and I had approached Built Hamber several years ago about this. I approached Coach Kemi about this concept. That said, look, you don't want to go out and get a bunch of trucks and hire a bunch of regional sales reps, because that's what all the Europeans think you need to do. You need to have regional representation, and you need to have these the people you're paying a salary. All you need to build is a website. builthamber.com, builthamber.us, or whatever. That's all we need to do. And then I'll take on only because I can't sell all Built Hammer in Obsessed Garage. That's not what I do. I can only sell the Built Hammer products that I love. And there's only 3 of them. But my argument was that if I make the market in these 3 and they go viral or they go exponential, it'll make people curious in the other products. And so as long as those other products are available through the website that I'll fulfill, then your product is going to take off. Without me, you're going to hire somebody and you'll get there, you'll get some sales, but we'll never get that sort of that big trajectory, that Coach Chemi GSF or remember Bead Maker,
Yeah.
Exponential or parabolic upside. You'll never get that. And so I think we have a possibility to have that with touchless in the US if I'm touting it. And then I can convince all you guys, all my friends that, are also have big audiences to at least try it. This could go viral, in our space, as viral as it can go pretty quickly. And so my employees, Bryce, the guy I taught to edit, he's in love with Built Hammer. And so he actually set up the deal, set up the call better.
It's on brand too, because it requires an education because of panel impact ratio. And I think you said you're bringing a more concentrated product to the market because it is a very expensive per wash product.
It's not anymore. And it wasn't in the UK. It was for us. And if you have a high flow, pressure washer. So if you were doing like a lower flow pressure washer, it's pretty inexpensive. But yeah, the new formulation. So Pete doesn't believe in having versions. Just there's one touchless, and when I come up with a new version, the old version is gone. And so it just so happened that his new version was coming out with or without me. So it's just the timing of it. And then, convincing him how to do this, I needed 2 layers of margin. I need the wholesale layer. So that way I can go to Car Supply's warehouse and still give them a good margin. Go to Kranzle, still give them a good, operating margin of say 35 or 40%. But I needed 20% as a wholesaler in order to be able to do that. And so I needed a better margins than he was willing to give. And so we had to kind of negotiate that out. And I explained to him, I said, look, you don't have to pay me anything. I'm going to buy the product from you. I just need you to eat some of your profit in order for me to be able to go and sell this through other retailers. And then just let me pick who the retailers are. Because what I want to do is I want to create circles of influence that aren't all overlapping the same circle. And that was my discussion or argument with Kranzle is there's one pizza and you're just cutting up the pizza. I have half of it, but you're then cutting up my other half and giving it out to other people. We're looking for new pizzas, right? People that can provide extra value. And I know who's going to do that. They're just taking from the pie that exists. They're advertising against the pie that exists. Whereas, the rag company boys are they have their own audience. They're out creating all kinds of content. Detailed Image has their forum. They've been at this forever. Car Supply's warehouse with Chicago Auto Pros, and they have their own audience. Carzilla, obviously, well respected. So let me pick those companies, and I'll help quality control that for you. And so I'm doing the same thing with LE, and then eventually I would like to be the product representation for most of the products that I sell. But the key requisite,
and it makes sense, yeah,
not the best. I have to punt. So you're on notice.
Yeah, right. I mean, fair enough. You go into it like that. That's
if Kranzle, if somebody knocks Kranzle off the bout, I'm out.
Yep.
I'll punt.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely want to try the LE polisher at some point because I need something.
I'm hard to please. And I was a little nervous because I had committed to them, said, hey, look, I'll be your wholesaler. And I had just used the polisher real quickly, and I'm like, this is pretty good, and I thought this is pretty good. It's better than the Griots, and the Griots was my entry level polisher for the progression. And I felt like Griots didn't just steal. Again, my gray line, I drew the line. I felt like Griots innovated, right? And so I started polishing this other E30 the other day, and I'm like, I'm just going to force myself to use this. And I'm like 3/4 of the way around the car. I'm like, I haven't put this thing down yet. And Rupes is still in the freaking cabinet, the $800 Rupes. And I'm still rolling. I'm like, this thing is freaking incredible. And then I went out and got the Rupes out, and it's a lot grindier, a lot more difficult to use. And, it was making a lot more noise. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just my Rupes is old. So I went and grabbed a brand new one. I'm like, Nope, nope. And then I grabbed the battery one. I'm like, well, the battery one, there's some virtues to it, but I still am preferring this. It's $210. You guys are going
Yeah,
to,
that's phenomenal price.
and then
Yeah.
I get to have control of it, which is also cool. And so we'll get it to go viral everywhere. They're selling tons of them in Europe. You know, it's kind of taken over Germany and Austria and the Netherlands and some of those other areas, but we haven't had it here. I didn't know. I never even heard of them.
What's your thoughts on the what Ivan's doing with his new polisher? And Josh, have you had tried that
Remember
yet?
Ivan? Remember
The
Ivan?
24 or 27 millimeter throw
So
I haven't tried
Ivan
it yet.
comes from remember Ivan comes from the
ONR.
fashion detail space, right? So Ivan owned one of the largest detailers in Montreal, you know, in Quebec. And so he was a $300 wash and wax, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. He wasn't doing, you know, big high-end corrections. You know, that wasn't their business. So his whole MO is efficiency, speed, and making your life, you know, easier. And so then when he sold that business and retired from that, he then worked with Dr. G. You know, he loved Dr. G. He loved ONR. They used the ONR products, the spray wax, all the ONR stuff. And so he and Dan, I forget what Dan's last name was, they went and left their careers and went and came to bring Dr. G into the new millennia. Because Dr. Gadusi was way behind. And so Dr. G had a patent on the sprayable polish, right? At low speed, rotary, no pressure, sprayable polish. And Dr. G's patent ran out, right? And so that's why DIY can now have a sprayable polish. And so, and then Ivan helped to really pioneer and push the whole ONR, you know, the whole ONR process. Big Red
I
Spun.
think he worked for Lake Country too.
He consulted with Lake Country on the, you know, the Euros. The Euros is a terrible polisher. I don't know. I think that thing's junk. I love the Lake Country guys, lots of friends there. But I think that polisher is junk. I don't need my polisher to do 57 things. I just want to do one thing really well. And so there's a lot of talk about the, you know, changing the orbit. And so I suspect it's probably maybe viable, but for Ivan's going to cater it to his process, which would be no pressure, low speed. That's his
One pad.
And so I never liked that, but like I went to Ivan's training, you know, 6-7 years ago, so 5-6 years ago, something like that. And I always like to take it in, but I didn't buy into, I'm more of a pressure, you know, manage pressure, you know, edge work, you know, typical traditional like Todd Cooperrider, Larry Cosilla, you know, Kevin Brown method of polishing is my preference. And so I don't think the long throw, I don't know that you're going to like it unless you adopt Ivan's process, because I'm sure he's developing it around that would be my wager. But I haven't tested it out yet. The LE guy, wait till you see the video. You'll want to watch, if you watch any of my videos, watch the interview with Sebastian from LE. We talk about some of those things. I challenge him on, you know, some of the things with polishers and polishers tech. He's a freaking genius, this guy. So we talk about, you know, 15, 21 millimeter. He talks about like 108 millimeter he was working on or something like that, orbit. And he talks about some of the, I forget what he said, but there's some of the deficiencies of when you go above a certain orbit, you lose something. And a lot of it has to do with the size of the pad. You know, if the pad is this big, then, you know, that big orbit can be useful. Also, when you get to smaller pads with DA, the smaller the pad, the more aggressive. With rotary, the smaller the pad, the less aggressive. The bigger the pad, the more aggressive. And so when you get to too long throw, you can end up with, you know, potential issues. And then obviously you have to deal with the balance. That's Rupez's big claim to fame. But there's lots of interesting stuff. I just think that we're probably the big parabolic upside of new coatings and new tech and new polishers. The Rupez into you know, silicon dioxide, you know, coatings was this, you lived it, Josh, this big exponential parabolic upside where we completely transformed the industry. It just so happened to be when I started the YouTube channel. I think those days are over. I think the parabolic upside, now we're going to have incremental changes unless they do change the paints, would be my guess.
The biggest thing is now the ease of use, the cross hatch is basically gone now. You don't have to use a cross hatch. You don't have to worry about
we never did.
And
cross hatching always just a
2x2 area.
It was a good frame of reference. Like I guarantee you, Josh looks through the paint It doesn't matter what way you move the polisher. He's looking through the paint at the scratches. And so cross hatching was a Richard Griot thing, Porter cable thing, where it just gave people a good do two this way and two that way, and you've done a good job, and just move
and you're ensuring coverage, and absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I think it more or less depends. The area that you use depends on the flash time of whatever product you're using, right? Like ceramic coating that flashes quick, you can't do as big of an area. And then if you're using a polish, or if you have a polish that gets really powdery really quick,
working time, but most polishes now are they've figured all that stuff out. Josh, what polishes do you generally use?
People think I'm crazy. I use a lot of M110, 210.
Knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I'm just used to it. It's just I know how it's going to react, and I'm comfortable.
And how to adjust amount of product, amount of pressure, amount of passes. So that's the Kevin Brown methodology: is learn one polish and learn how to manipulate that rather than just going grabbing 57 others. Hacks me. I just go, wow, this isn't giving me what I want. Let me go get another polish. Let me get another. Let me get another polish and another pad. So it took a while to learn to, don't change 57 variables at once. Change one variable. All right, let me put a little more product. Maybe spray a little bit of water. Let me blow out the pad a little earlier. Maybe make one less pass. Maybe lift some of the pressure off. Some of those things that you probably
there's so many variables.
You don't even.
And then when you throw in another one of a new product, it's like all those change. So
I'll be honest. The only polish I've ever used was the OI Detail Gold Standard. That's it. And then Ivan just sent me the new one, that app.
So just know that
the coating prep polish.
Always approaching it from the production detail perspective. And now with DIY, he's trying to make it efficient, easy, get you a good result. That's what he's pursuing. If you're looking for perfection, you probably have to do something a little different.
Yeah. Well, he told me that's why he developed the C6 ceramics companies, because he did kind of want to branch into like a little more higher end product.
Next.
And he developed that app. It's a polish that swells the paint. Supposedly it makes
he'll come
coating.
He hasn't already come to you. He'll get on his bus and come to you and make some.
Oh, he already told me he was going to park out front of the house, but
yeah. And I'm telling you, you'd have a great experience with him, training with him. Then, I would try to get out to see Jason Rose. If you can do it, I would highly recommend.
I met him at G-Technic Works about a month or so ago.
Go to Jason Rose's training. I'm saying.
Oh, his training.
The one training to do would be to go to Todd Cooper-Ryder and at Esoteric, and he'll teach you how to polish an edge. He'll teach you, pad pressure. I would go and spend time with him. And Jeremy from Shine Supplies also has a good training program. Or Josh, just go out there and have him teach you.
Come on out, man. I was talking to Keav. He said he's never been to California, so.
Oh yeah, put you to work. Put you to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Vegas is as far as I've ever gone.
Yeah. All right, fellas, this was awesome. I appreciate you doing this. And especially
appreciate you having us on, man. It was good to talk.
Talking trash about Amazon guys. I'm telling you, I was not talking about you guys. I was talking about everybody who buys on Amazon. But you can think it with you. That's fine. I wondered. I'm like, I'm going to send these guys an email. I wonder if they'll. And I didn't get a reply immediately. I'm like, maybe these guys.
We were discussing privately about what should we do here? Because it's kind of a lose win either way. I mean, we get a little exposure on your channel. We get to discuss this, but our audience is going to come back at it a little bit.
If they watch this, you guys challenged me. I challenged you. We come to an agreement. What can people fault that for? I think they'll see a difference.
Yeah,
I told Josh in the first sentence, I was like, sounds like a trap.
Yeah. Well, that's why I tried to work. It's like, hey guys, make me look stupid here. That's what I want. I want to lose in this one, because I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to prove that you guys are stupid and I'm smart. That's not the goal. The goal is to make two other friends who have a shared passion that I have. And I think we accomplished that. So
we achieved it, man. Yeah, no, it was great. It's great talk.
And you guys, I think I gave you my cell. If you ever need anything, on the email, just put it in your phone. And Josh, you ever want to talk business? Keav, you ever want to talk about expensive stuff? Just hit me up. If you're ever in Florida, love to give you.
Sounds great, man.
Business would be cool.
Yeah.
And I'll keep you posted as we get the affiliates together. I'd love to, we're going to have pan and, chromatic detailing, status detailing, get a lot of the guys together. And we're all in, on an island. Like, let's go to the same island, and then we can share some of these things we're talking about in life and business. We're all in a unique situation that only we can relate to. So
Sure.
I'm going to put that together over time.
Sounds good, man. Sounds like a plan.
Everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you like all of us at the end a little bit more, and see you soon. Go subscribe to IMJOSHV on YouTube, and is it Cars with Keav?
Yeah.
On YouTube as well. I'll put their links in the description, so make sure to go check them out. Subscribe. They're doing a lot more testing now than I am on pressure washers, so they're a lot more in tune with what's going on with all the latest stuff. And I try to cherry pick ones that I can tell I might like, and sometimes some things surprise me, and I do watch them often if I'm not sure that I want to try something. It's a lot, guys. I mean, I'm you're starting to get up there in numbers as well, but I'm 100+ into these darn things, and
yeah,
it gets a bit onerous. So thanks everybody for watching. Go subscribe to my now new friends, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, man.